Hi. Hi.
Hello.
I'm always in panic mode. All right. How you
Welcome
doing?
back to
Welcome
a
back to Van and
very
Dan.
special Van and Dan. The terrible twosome are back.
The walking Bullbaits. I love that.
The walking Bullbaits.
Confront me, motherfuckers.
TRs, bro.
So do you watch my thingamabob? Oh yeah, I know you did.
Yes, Danny did his first live.
I just felt the need, and this is the surfactastic, I guess, that somebody said don't do that, and I went, well, now I have to. Now I have to. I have to do it. How dare you? You told me not to do that. Well, now I must.
Who said don't do it? Who said don't do it?
Well, Aaron, I guess, more or less. I mean, he was saying, keep the peace, fair roads, fair weather, and all that. But I didn't take it too kindly. And it's not just him. It's, everybody wants to.
Yeah, no.
Everybody wants to be too polite.
A nice letter, and then ended up reading it solo. And
yeah, I wrote a whole. Did you? Yeah, I sent you the script, right?
Yeah. You were asking me how to spell things like surfac.
Like surfac. I didn't know how to spell surfac. Because I want to make that joke of surfactastic. Surface. I knew it was surface facsimile, but I could. I don't know. I feel silly. Just talking to nobody. Or, I feel like, as there's an acting thing. You have to be specific about who you're talking to, right? Even if you're talking to the audience, you pick somebody. And either you talk to that person in the audience, or you imagine that's your father, you imagine that's your sister, you imagine that's whoever it is, your therapist, whatever works for you. That's what I probably should incorporate, perhaps. I had some issues. Oh, okay. Words, what? Roxanne. I'm afraid of words.
Use your words.
No, there's a movie called Waking Life. It's a rotoscope movie, and it's a very interesting. It's a funny little movie. Some people call it pretentious, but I like it. And there's this bit in there, and it's all these little vignettes, and people just sort of talking about stuff. And there's a vignette in there about words. Words are inert. Words really only have the meaning we give them. I say a word, a relative term like love. You hear that word does something to you. You define it in the way that what that means to you, but it's not necessarily the same thing, you and I, right? Mm-hmm. That word means a lot of different things, a lot of different people. And I guess I was going on about community in that respect, right? And a couple other words came up recently. Aaron Smith-Levin, again, did a thing about decide who your friends are.
Yeah, the liability formula. I didn't watch the video, but I've had the same cognitions.
It was mostly for him, realizing what the fuck kind of thing is that to tell somebody?
Yeah.
Decide
no, it's really bad. The liability condition. Really
and it's not at all based on who those people are to you or what they mean to you or how you feel about them, how they feel about you, whether or not they're on your side or any of that. It's just about whether or not they are forwarding the ultimate goal of clearing my fucking head case.
Yeah.
And it's really insane. And so there's another word that we all kind of stumble on. Another one is attack. Another word that's been used recently is attack. And most of the time I hear people, Scientologists anyway, they think if you're not sucking their dick, that you're attacking them. If you're not in love with them, then that's an attack. It's a very binary concept, right? Either you're an enemy or an ally, and there's nothing in between. And that's a whole nother thing. Somebody along in this conversation has felt attacked. And I'm not sure who exactly is doing the attacking or if it's just being perceived that way.
Mm-hmm.
Certainly when Leah Remini asked David Miscavige where his wife was at Tom Cruise's wedding, he felt attacked by her because she was missing his withhold, right?
Yeah, I think it's used a little too freely because attack is like an actual attack.
Right. But all these words, they move the goalposts. Even the idea of an SP. When we were kids, when I was a kid, that was a big deal. Like somebody was an SP. Yeah. Oh, now every fucking buddy I know, half the people I know are SPs. So apparently that's what it means. But I do think about that stupid list, that little laundry list of the SP traits. We used to read that aloud as a family. Don't ever be these things.
I become close friends with people who I know that if I was still a Scientologist, they'd be SPs. I know it. So sometimes it gets to
Or
me. I'm
like,
like, oh wait, are they just
I am. I realize, you know, there's like, you know, there was a bunch of things. Like, it is true. Like, it is true that there are descriptors in that list that are the traits of SPs that are actually also the traits of openly honest people who don't fuck around or don't have the that Elrond can keep and hold against them to use against them later. That's why he didn't like SPs, because they, you know, they talked openly and they talked about, you know, interbulating shit. So interbulating. I'm so not. That's actually that's our t-shirt. Interbulating.
So interbulating.
Watch out! I'm gonna re-stimulate you. Oh no! You might have an emotional. You might have a human emotional reaction. That was one that came up.
We're just living our best SP lives out here.
Living our best SP lives.
The shit out of people, apparently.
Making fun of the pain, because that's what we got. That's the tool we got. So
you got a really positive reaction to your video. I read through a lot of comments. It was really cool.
everybody seemed grateful, and I was glad to hear people say that they were glad to hear me say it. You're so I know, right? I interb my very presence. Can I do that thing where show it? Oh yeah. I know it.
Oh, look who's learning the computer.
I know, right? Yeah. Okay. What she's not telling you is we had audio problems before we came on. I couldn't figure out how to upload the thing, and I don't even know if this is actually doing the thing, but we'll see. Because I want it to go on both channels.
It's on.
Oh yeah, okay, it is there. Okay.
Don't trip.
I don't want to lose track. I don't know why. Gotta keep a record. For some reason, I feel compelled to keep a record.
I think you must almost be to monetization, right? Because I'm almost to monetization.
I don't know how many hours you need, like 1 million hours or some shit. I have enough.
You need 4,000. It's a lot.
I have enough followers.
Yeah, I still need 50 followers. So anybody.
And what does that mean? Oh yeah, I'll follow you. I will follow you wherever you may go. That's what we should put at the end of them. Follow.
I was just watching before this. I was watching Dodge Landesman's live because he went to court this morning because DDT.
Wait, you're watching what?
This guy named Dodge. He like covers all the court trials. He's really funny.
Whose
and I was watching his live. He went there because DDT's dumbass said he filed a motion about his restraining order. So he went to go actually see if he would show up. But the thing he put in was rejected and Dodge was leaving. But it was just hilarious because he was like driving around in a car with his dog and singing all the songs on the radio. And like 200 people were watching. And it was like fucking hilarious. So,
you know, back in the day, people used to drive around with a bullhorn on the top of the car. Scientology was just up and down L. Ron Hubbard way. Scientology is a cult. Listen to your inner voice. you know they're lying to you. Inside there,
But I was thinking you would be so good at that. Like, just take along the camera and just live stream through the day and like the weird shit you get into. Like, it'd be pretty funny.
I think of that with like just walking through New York. You hear little bits and snippets of conversation all the time that just crack me up. And I'm constantly I respond to things that people say when I'm walking down the street in New York City, which is a very strange thing to do. I wouldn't recommend it, but it's a habit I had when I was a bum. You know, you just kind of bark at people because when you're a bum, that's your living room. You know what I mean? So I'm like, get out of my living room, you know? So I do that. I kind of respond to people sometimes, and some people think it's hilarious and some people think it's very creepy, but because I'm not Bill Murray. Bill Murray used to do this stuff where he would just walk up to people and say crazy things to them. But because he's Bill Murray, people are like, oh, that's exciting. That's fun. I'm not Bill Murray. So I can't get away with it.
Come on. Yes, you are.
Not yet. Not someday. Someday I may be a Bill Murray. I was watching the new Ghostbusters movie. Speaking of which, he's in it. And,
how was it?
They're all right. The new movies, they're kids movies. They're definitely angled towards kids. It's not as much fun for me. The original Ghostbusters movie wasn't really made for kids. Those guys made that movie for them and their friends. They didn't make that movie for kids. It just happened to be the kids movie on offer to me and my generation, or the kid-friendly-ish movie. By today's comparison, by today's standards, that movie wouldn't cut mustard. Wouldn't make it in the Millennials are so sensitive. You guys are so sensitive.
I'm a millennial.
I know. my friend
Gen
Lamar.
Z is more sensitive than us.
I know. No, it's fine. But it's all about a balance for me because I'm from, the joke was if somebody says, am I fat? The boomer says, oh, you could lose a few maybe. The millennial says, of course not, all bodies are beautiful. Or the millennial says, I don't fat shame. And the Gen Zer says, all bodies are beautiful. And the Gen Xer, we say, I know 5 fat people and you're 4 of them. We're very different people is all I'm saying. It's all sort of like,
Gen X is wild.
There's a real urge to like be in your face about stuff because that was the thing. Like the boomers, they had the disillusionment, but they had the hope and they tried to change the world. We had all the disillusionment, but none of the hope. So we just kind of stuck our finger out. We kind of bailed. It's interesting to me how politically so many of the arguments have become boomers versus millennials. And the X generation doesn't even seem to be barely represented.
Yeah.
Janine Garofalo. That's all, we got Janine Garofalo and Margaret Cho. Who else? I don't know. Who else is a millennial? Who else is Gen X? Who are the voices of our generation?
I never wanted to be the Janine Garofalo in life, but I've achieved.
I love Janine Garofalo. I adore her. I adore Janine. I used to see her. Oh, it's Mr. Anderson. In the spirit of the house live, pardon me, Daniel. Do you have any grape coupon? Let me get some for you. Like a monkey, I'll throw it. No, I used to see her. She lives around Washington Square Park. And I used to see her every once in a while. If you go hang out there, you will. You see her. She walks her dogs. The dogs are in her show. The dogs that are in her show, she walks those dogs in the neighborhood. And she has these horrible stinky French cigarettes that she also makes fun of in the show that she would give me when as a bum. I'd bum cigarettes off of Janine Garofalo. That's how cool she was, that she'd give me her stinky imported French cigarettes. No, Janine Garofalo is awesome. I love telling stories about famous people I met when I was a bum and who was nice. Jude Law, not nice. Janine Garofalo, very nice. Nice.
I went to Kings of Leon this week in concert.
I saw.
Man, they were so freaking good.
I bet they put on a good show.
It was so good.
I think I conflate the Kings of Leon and Imagine Dragons, and there's another band that are kind of like. There's a bunch of bands like right at the millennium when that's what changed over there. I wasn't.
They were like 2005. They came out.
When was the Something on Fire? Right? Wasn't that them?
Yeah. Sex on Fire.
When was that? Because that was about
2005.
That was 2005. Okay, I think that makes sense.
Yeah, that was when they busted onto the scene. But they've maintained relevancy. They're always growing as a band. It's a family too. They're all related.
Yeah. Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, so the energy is super cool, and they just put on a sick show. And it was an arena that they packed.
Oh, Franz Ferdinand. Are they still around?
Oh, no, I haven't heard of them in a long time.
I don't know. They were like for a moment there, right before Kings of Leon, they were the biggest thing around.
Yeah.
And then there was something in between I'm forgetting, and then Imagine Dragon. I don't know. There's always these sort of what I think of as being the mainstream band, and the Kings of Leon was definitely one of them.
Yeah, they came out.
21 Pilots. 21 Pilots is probably what it is now.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm really bad at following music these days.
I really like 21 Pilots. I really like them a lot. All my friends are heathens. Take it slow. But the old record I loved, Migraine and stuff like that. Anyway, but wait. There's something I was just going to say to you. No, I forgot. That's my problem too. I used to forget everything.
What was your favorite response to that video? Do you feel like
I was just glad that people were glad that I said something or had something to say? And I worry that somebody's going to get mad at me about it, maybe. And that's the other thing. We're always in trouble. Oh, we're always in trouble, right? People say that's what he started his thing with. When people say you're in trouble, what does that mean? Well, it means this shit.
That's how I feel too.
Oh my God, all the time. I always telling social workers too. I always feel like I'm in trouble. So if you want me to come in the office to talk to you, and I'm please don't make me go in there. Please leave the door open.
No, man.
And they are the complete opposite about it. Of course, I'll leave the door open. They never even considered closing the door. Never mind locking it.
Yeah.
But what, I have to go in the office and talk to somebody? I don't want to go. I don't want to
Yeah, that's
go.
what we're used to.
And then I listened to, this was a trip in the spirit of community and coming clean. Laura FM and Mike Brown, they did a thing.
Mm-hmm.
They did too.
Yeah.
Just talking it out and their kind of shared experience, and the certainly the impression that he left on her as a very young girl. Kind of nuts, that whole story. Did you watch that at all?
But I like Mike Brown, and
yeah, he's a very sensible guy. I remember not liking him.
And I were close at one point in time. We haven't talked in a while.
I didn't like him and Sterling when I was a kid, but they were good kids. I was not. But there's that famous story about Sterling's bike getting stolen. There was some gang of kids stole somebody's bike, and every fucking Scientology boy I knew was out looking for that bike that night. Everybody, not just
That's
Sterling.
Funny.
Everybody. Brett was out.
In LA?
Everybody. Yeah.
Huh.
Hi, Amber. Do you remember Mike Brown and Sterling?
Mike Brown's a sweetie. I think Sterling's kind of hot these days. You seen him?
I have not. I don't know if I did see him on something. I did, but a while ago, but I don't remember thinking that necessarily. But we probably have different tastes.
We probably do.
I don't like pale white boys.
I understand. It's a thing. You either like them or you don't, you know?
Yeah, you either like them or you don't. That anemic thing is either attractive or it's not. I don't know. But I thought it was really awesome that they did that. And it wasn't even about any finger pointing. Like I kind of thought she was going to be more angry with him about particular things. And she really was angry at that experience growing up there. I mean, I remember hearing the horror stories of everybody I knew who had ever been anywhere near it. And I remember whenever we drive past the area, people would point, oh, it's over there somewhere. The infamous ranch. It's over there. It's over in that canyon over there. But God damn, I can't imagine actually living there. And the escape stories are hilarious to me. All these stories.
So sad.
Of people escaping.
It really is so sad. One of my closest friends, he grew up there, and like they're just so like tough because they're not, nobody ever showed them affection, attention, everything.
It's a lot like there's this the Eastern European, I want to say Czech Republic, Czechoslovakia, but there was a war in the 80s, and there's a whole generation of these kids, these orphan children, a lot of whom were adopted by American people in the 80s. And they all have this sort of like emotional attachment problem because they were not held as babies.
Yeah.
And
that's a hard challenge.
And that's a lot of what Scientology did. My mother was, in fact, and this came up too, like as far as like the nursery. My mother was in charge of the nursery at one point, and she used to tell this story about a kid getting out and getting into a car and getting the brake off and rolling down the hill. And she comes running out and uses her OT intention to stop the car. No, it wasn't that the hill had leveled out. It was that she stopped the car. And she tells this story like it's this big point of pride. Like, I saved this child. It's like, no, your negligence put this child at risk to begin with. And that part of the story goes right over her head. That's
right over the head.
There goes another one. But Scientologists are good at that. They,
no, super good.
Denial.
Oh, I was watching, two things. One, I was watching yesterday, Aaron had on this guy from Denmark or Switzerland. And
there's a thing about in Denmark. I saw a thing about a guy in Denmark.
Yeah.
Or somebody in Denmark. Okay.
It was really like giving me all the feels because he was talking about how his mom disconnected from him and how he kept trying to like talk to her. And for me, it's been 8 years.
And you're still a bad example. For a lot of those people, there are a few people I knew a long time ago who just don't want to be associated with anybody who was ever associated with it. And I don't blame them. Because like I was saying in that live the other day, like even even on the back end of this, even coming around to the other side and being anti-Scientology, we're all still kind of sketchy fucking people. You know, we're not very well-adjusted people. That's all I'm saying. And so I can understand people just wanting to stay out of the mix on either side of the conversation.
I had somebody look at me and be like, I don't know what it is about you. You seem less damaged than the rest.
You personally.
Yeah.
Yeah, you probably are.
Like, well, I've done a lot of education, and that has given me the chance to examine all the beliefs.
Yeah, you and I might
everything.
be kind of. Who would you say is the most damaged? Well, we probably don't know the most damaged. The most damaged is dead. Or sorry, unalived.
I
mean, this shaming words. I don't know. I don't get it, but all right. Yeah, I'm sorry. I just want to say this. I just want to see this real quick. This is so funny. Wait, where was it? There she goes. Amber says, Amber who lived in the building when we were kids, and Sue thought that she was a bad example on me. And I think that's hilarious because I'm sure I was a bad example on her. You know what? We had no good examples. There were no good examples. Say what?
Amber was at the Shang with us. Oh my God. Do you remember Cammie Barber?
Yeah, the Barbers.
I saw her at Trader Joe's like a couple years ago, and she literally looked like she was dressed like she was in a Mormon cult. I was like, oh my God, girl.
Oh no.
She's still hardcore.
There was another family, Mary and John, and they had a whole bunch of kids. They were Mormons.
Oh wow.
There was a lot of those. Not a lot, but there were a few. I can't remember if the Barbers were Mormons too. I think they might have been, or they might have been. They might have been
hardcore Scientologists, though.
Yeah, by the time we knew them, certainly. But they were like really the hippies. Those guys were more hippies. Their parents, the John and everybody was called John. I don't remember everybody's name, but they were much more. All of them.
I guess tomorrow's the talk of the century. It's Nora and Mitch Brisker live.
Oh right, that should be interesting.
I know, right?
What is she still angry about? Because I watched the one thing they did do, the conversation they did have.
Mm-hmm.
And
there was a video that Tori, Spanky, and him put out like last week. And
more recently.
Nora felt that it was very tone deaf, which there's always that divide between first gen and second gen of how we look at the whole situation. It's just always very different. So, like, versus walking in yourself. And they said some stuff about kids in Scientology. And so she didn't like the way it made her feel.
Well, they are all tone deaf. We're all tone deaf. Sometimes.
I mean, Spanky and Tori are awesome. Like, they've been my friends a long time. We had a 3-way call like a few months ago, and they've been really cool older women role models who have left and fought the church. Like, so I got to give them a little bit of credit because they're definitely good women. But like, I think they were just having a conversation and it ended up.
Well, I have a question because Mitch seemed to push back on this idea that there were kids in the Sea Org.
And he apologized for saying that.
Okay, so is there something beyond that he's saying that's causing a problem, or just that they don't seem to really recognize?
I don't think there's anything new.
Well, there is going to be a difference between people who like worked in it or joined it as grown-ups and people who were raised in or born in it, because it was more than just a job to us. It was or even a lifestyle choice. It was our lives. It was everything. Oh God. And it was not. And like somebody said about, like Amber said about example, like we had no good examples.
Mitch is from Peter Anderson. Mitch and Spanky met Tori at Big Blue. I thought Tori called Mitch out on some of his dialogue. Nora being obviously more invested to issue with some of the dialogue. I'm glad they're going to talk. Yeah. So
I think we have to remember that some of the dialogue is just old men. Old men are just weird like that sometimes. It's not necessarily about Scientology. Boomer, she does call him a privileged boomer, privileged white boomer, and he does have kind of that attitude that we're talking about when we say that. So it's not to say that's wrong, but it's not necessarily.
Hey, when I met Mitch, he was very, very sweet, very nice.
I've never met him. I don't think so. I don't think I've ever met him.
I met him at Jeff Levin's band's. They had a documentary in Hollywood. they had a premiere and he was there and it was really nice. Fiona, my channel is at Vanessa LaRose.
Vanessa
Thank
LaRose.
you for asking. Thank you for asking.
In the Gray Zone with Vanessa LaRose.
I know. I need like 40 more subscribers to get to that eligibility point. So,
oh, well, yeah, we'll push that, right?
Everyone subscribe, hit those like buttons, etc. And I think that's what I was saying. I think you would be fascinating to like as a job. You could bring your camera around and just talk shit around New York City and stuff. People would be very entertained.
Yeah. Well, yeah. And also it'd be great if I could have done that when I was homeless. And not that I was homeless, but like there is a freedom of movement and personality that is allowed when you are that low on anybody's social totem pole.
For sure.
Like that would have been hilarious. But like the Jude Law thing, like there was a falafel cart, a halal food cart on 6th Avenue that I used to go to every once in a while. $6 for a gyro. Anyway, yeah. And around the corner is what looks like a church, but it's not actually a church. It's very New York City. It's the front of an old church, and they've torn down the building and built something else behind it. So it's just a facade. Mm-hmm. And the church doors, instead of opening out, they open sideways like Star Trek. And so whatever. I didn't really know that. I mean, I realized it wasn't really a church, but it looked like a church to me. So I sat on the steps to eat my gyro. And the door opens, and a young woman in a little black dress comes down the stairs, and a livery cab pulls up, and I forget if she didn't get in it right away. She waited for it. And then a couple of minutes later, out comes Jude Law. And he looks at me, this bum sitting on the steps, looks down his nose at me and says, "You can't sit there."
Jude Law? What a dick. Jude Law.
You can't sit there. It's can't. It was the way he said can't too. And he trotted down the stairs, and the two of them got in the car. And just before he got in the car, I call out, "I loved you in the Towden, Mr. Ripley." And he like tensed up, like he was so pissed at that. Because he says you can't sit there, and I go, "Oh yeah, okay," and I like start fuddling around like I'm getting up, but I don't actually move. That's the joke, right? And so I love you, Towden, Mr. That bugged him so much, but I did love him in Towden, Mr. Ripley. He's brilliant in that.
I loved him in Closer.
Was that the photography one? Was he a photographer in that?
Yeah, and it was with Natalie Portman and
only
Roberts.
vaguely remember that. That's the one. That's the couples, the two couples.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. That's a good movie. That's a heavy movie.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure Pretty sure it was a Mike Nichols movie. Mike Nichols is my favorite director. One of my favorite.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Mike Nichols
made a thumbs up. I don't know what that
somebody else likes Mike Nichols. Mike Nichols, he made The Graduate, he made Birdcage, he's made some of the funniest movies ever made. He's genius. That guy, he's dead now, but he was genius in this. He was an immigrant. Not that it matters, I don't know, but he was. One of the greatest American filmmakers. Anyway,
what about this? DM is the most damaged from his stunted height relative to a damaged pituitary gland to his total loss of self to the con. Yeah, he's just messed up.
I don't want to even think. Like the idea of getting into the mischievous Miscavich's head is not a pleasant one, but.
Yeah, I think he lives in hiding. It can't be that great,
Birdcage, yeah. He must. He doesn't have any friends. If Tom Cruise doesn't have any friends, David Miscavige don't have any friends, and that I think is hilarious. Poor Tom has no friends. His daughter. He could be friends with his daughter.
I know, that'd be great.
Is that what you call it? A slap and tickle? They're besties.
There's people whose jobs are to watch these videos and they have to type that up.
Slap and tickle.
Yeah, that's going in the KR.
Slap and tickle.
He keeps whispering.
Oh yeah, that's a good one to poke at because they're so stuck in conservatism about the fucking anything, sex, affection, intimacy, any of it. you're not your body, but don't touch your body or anybody else's or something. I don't know.
Yeah, that kid yesterday was talking about thinking he was in so much trouble for touching himself as a teenager. He was so worried, and it was so sad.
Yeah. Again, lapsed Catholics do that too. They really punish themselves for stuff that really isn't worth punishing yourself for. You stole a chicken or something. Or things you do when you're a child. Like, you're supposed to be forgiven, I think. Things you do when you're 8. Aren't you? I didn't. I held it all against myself. I thought it was all my fault. It's all my fault. I never thought anything else was true. Ooh.
Yeah, it's pretty nuts. Hi, witness.
They have to report it. Oh. I'm trying to think about it. Like, how do you get through to that? Because people keep saying stuff to them, like, but it's like, whatever you say, like, they've preempted all the arguments. You know, when you say, "Oh, it's a call," you know, whatever we say, their answer to that is, "We're on psych drugs. We're crazy. We're the lunatics."
But that's what makes it a cult, is that they have an answer for everything. Right. You know, that it's just a mind fuck. So she says, I talk to Osa all the time. What's up? Hey, Osa, what's up? Right.
And Natalie Weber, she has a little doll. She has a little, hey, Osa, wake up. And she bangs her mic. Good morning,
really?
Osa.
I've never watched her channel, but
she's very sweet. Nice. She's very cool. She's funny. She's funny. It's kind of roundup. It's kind of, and I describe as a kitchen table talk.
Oh, like
which I like.
Red table talk.
Something like that. You know what I mean? But like the kind of like conversation you have with your girlfriends at the kitchen table more than like Aaron's like reporting something, or so-and-so is like a, you know, media activist.
Jenna has like a lifestyle channel.
I know. In her kitchen. What a strange thing though to be famous for and then like used to, or whatever. I don't know. She's a trip. She's a trip. That's gotta be a crazy head trip to her. You know, because she was this sort of odd VIP, not VIP, treated like everybody else, but kind of given all this weird attention because of who she's related to.
Yeah, she wrote her book pretty early on, though. Oh, she's Sterling's sister.
I don't think I knew that. Wait, Jenna Miskovich is Sterling? Yeah. Wait, is there more than one Sterling?
No.
Oh, because the Sterling
they're like step or something.
Oh, okay.
Or half.
Yeah, that happens a lot in Scientology because everybody has to get married to do anything. So people are getting married and unmarried and remarried and overmarried and marry your cousin if you ain't careful.
Married. So many marriages at CC I went to.
And very few cats.
Oh.
No, that's in the wedding vow. And it speaks to this sort of capricious nature of women, that a woman might want a capricious desire, a childish desire, a cat perhaps. He actually said that's actually in the thing.
Like childless cat ladies.
Yes, funny, right? Yeah. Although presumably if you're getting married in a Scientology ceremony, you got to have kids because they got to feed the beast. I got a Queer America shirt on today.
Oh, that's cool.
And this is like a human rights group, but I can't even remember who it is because they didn't put their tag on the shirt or it washed off. But it's an old shirt, like it's
soft. That's cool.
I like t-shirts. I like silly old t-shirts. That's probably a next generation thing too. You're in a t-shirt tonight. I was gonna say you don't wear t-shirts, but there you are in a t-shirt. Oh, look at you.
In a t-shirt.
Our glamour girl. What is that? What does that say?
It's like a
Led Zeppelin.
It's supposed to be a Led Zeppelin shirt, but it's not a real one.
Oh.
It's all right.
Come from the land of the ice and snow. Oh my God, Zeppelin was such an integral part of my upbringing. From the LPs my sister had to the car trips and the Zeppelin. We're trying to count all the babies. How many times does Robert Plant sing the word baby? Baby, baby. He sings a lot. And there's like 1 million babies and then 500,000 babes. We would actually try to count them out.
Zeppelin's the best.
I was surprised when I found out they were English. I totally thought they seemed so American to me. but they're
Yeah,
not.
I
They're
know.
the Brits.
Very true.
All right. I guess. Wait. Okay. Hold on a second. I have to get my coffee. I forgot my coffee.
Okay.
Hold on. I'm getting that for a second. I'm walking away from the chat. He's fleeing the interview. Fleeing the interview.
How are you guys all doing today? Hopefully good. Wherever you're at. Put it in the chat where you're watching from, por favor.
What?
I told everybody to put where they're watching from in the chat if they can.
Oh, okay. We can talk about places.
Because it's interesting.
I forgot my coffee. I need my coffee. Without my coffee, I'm.
Oh no! Oh, did you get your coffee?
Here it is.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's why I got it to give us.
Asheville, North Carolina. That's cool.
Asheville. I have a friend from Asheville or Rocky Mount. I think is near there.
From San Diego. Most
you know about San Diego.
Yeah, I do. Love me some San Diego. Oh, Dallas, Texas.
So this is saying that Texas is saying that Jenna's dad is David Miscavige's brother, but both have the same mom. But then, like, how does Sterling fit into that? Is the question.
Mm-hmm.
Portland. My brother's in Portland. Don't tell anybody. I think
Portland.
Nora's in Portland too. I think. Portland seems like a cool place to be. That's probably a place I should go. I would probably.
It is a cool place. Jackson's up there too.
Jackson who?
Morehouse. He's really sweet. He used to be security at Gold, and he's a homie, dude. He's awesome. Kazri, you met me at a protest at CC last October. Yay! That was when Danny and I first reconnected because we did our roundup afterwards. Remember, I was like, I wish you could have been there because we were near the Shang. Well, nice to see you.
Oh yeah. That was like the first time we chatted, I think. Although when we really connected was when I was on the psych ward and I got online.
Yeah.
And you invited me to a Facebook page. So okay.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, Sterling and Jen have the same mom. Yeah, this is how not very engaged in family people are. Yes, Nora, Liz, Gail, and Jefferson Hawkins are in Portland. Wow. Liz, Gail, and and Nora.
I think Liz Gail's like outside of Portland
Yeah, I think they're all kind of right outside of Portland, but that's when you live just near a major city, that's what you say. You say the city.
Yeah.
California, I'm coming home. I'm gonna see the folks I dig. I leave and kiss the sunset pick. California, I'm coming home. That's Joni Mitchell.
Joni.
Yeah.
Joni.
Of course, Nora's in Beaverton. That makes perfect sense. Nanny, wait, live long and prosper.
This is the
gay
official Scientology.
No, this is Spock. This is from Star Trek. He does the live long and prosper thing, or that's how you make it gay.
Good thing these streams aren't monetized.
I understand. So wait, I understand. So you're not supposed to put any sort of like what risk? You're not talking about what you can't. I know you can't say the S word. You have to say.
Well, we're not monetized, so it doesn't. It actually doesn't matter.
But when you are monetized, you're not allowed to say anything at all. Like that.
Yeah, because when it cuts you off from like all ages, then it's seen a lot less, basically.
Oh, we can't just put a warning. Because like a lot of these people, they clearly cater to grown people. I don't know. But whatever. Yeah. Whatever that means, whatever grown people means. What does grown people mean?
I love YouTube. YouTube, like I'll just turn it on while I'm washing the dishes or whatever, and it's like puts me in a better mood sometimes if I watch funny people or I feel like I'm not alone.
You are not alone. You're not alone, Vanessa. You're really, really not alone.
With you.
Beaver, ton of beaver. There, Tim Greenglass made the joke too. wasn't just me. I wasn't the only one that thought that. Beaverton.
You got that.
San Diego. San Diego is just a place I used to drive through on the way to Tijuana.
Yes. Why were you going to Tijuana?
Because when you're a teenager, you can do whatever you want in Tijuana.
Yeah.
Mostly drugs and alcohol. Mostly drugs and alcohol. Say what? And die,
and
right?
Die.
You can get knifed too. That's a you know, some. Well, you can get knifed just about anywhere. Yeah, when you're it was LA. When you grow up in LA, you run off. You can go to Tijuana you can sit at the bar in Tijuana when you're like 16, and that's something.
Witness, exactly. That's what it is. Body doubling. It's very useful for me. I have ADHD, so it's very helpful to have. Sometimes you could have other people help you, like stand around, and it literally motivates me to do shit.
Wait, what is body doubling?
So it's when you, like, for instance, some people will do homework on YouTube and then other people will watch or like comments or whatever. And it kind of like gives you motivation to do things.
Oh, yeah. Oh, look at that. Yeah, I'm bad at that. Motivation.
Yeah. Casby says, Aaron says after the first 10 minutes of a video, you can say bad words. I think he marks his videos for adults. Most people who would want to watch are adults. Yeah, exactly. I think if you say swear words or, you know, things like that in the first 10 minutes, then they're like,
oh, yeah, I think I do that every time, don't I? I swear so much, I don't even know I'm swearing. I just don't even know. It's the Scandinavian in me. I come from the land of the ice and snow and lots of sweary people.
Yeah, well, we also like smoke our little ciggies and e-ciggies on camera, and they don't like that either. So
I smoke real cigarettes, and you're not supposed to do that.
Yeah. I mean, some people do. Fuck it.
What's her name? There's a writer called Fran, not Leibowitz, but something like that. Anyway, she says she said if she knew that in old age the most inappropriate thing that she does would be considered the cigarette smoking, she would have done more real, actual devious things when she was young.
Yeah, I read that too.
And it's like, that's hilarious.
I was like, I gotta start doing crazy shit, right?
Yeah, that's the idea. You're supposed to do that when you're young and you're, you know, forgivable and you can make the mistakes and, you know, but we didn't give her. There was no forgiveness. There's no grace given in our upbringings. No grace.
Yes, it just gets demonetized the one stream. So some creators know the demonetization will happen. Don't mind. Yeah, exactly. We're not monetized anyway. Texas Auto says, how can we get this channel monetized? Thank you for asking. So what people can do is like just have our videos playing.
Like, watch, and subscribe. Yeah.
Yeah, they can literally, if you want to help, just have our videos playing in the background. It gives us hours if you ever want to do something like that.
Is that the Kendra I know?
No.
Is that a Kendra you know?
I don't know which Kendra B this is.
Is that a Kendra? Used to be Kendra F?
Oh wait, yeah, it is. Yeah, it is.
Is that used to be Kendra F? Right. This is also Shangri-La. Oh yeah, we should totally we should do a whole Shangri-La reunite.
I want her to come on one of these days.
Right? Yeah, Kendra and Yetta and her sister. Oh, we shouldn't. Are we not supposed to say names? I'm not sure who. I'm not sure who knows what. Yeah, Blanco. Yes. Yay, Kendra, so good to see you. Fran Leibowitz, yeah. Oh, it is Leibowitz. Okay, I wasn't sure if I was conflating her with the photographer because it was also Annie Leibowitz. Hugs to Dan. Thank you, Peggy. Peggy Exa. See, we were talking about the X generation, Peggy. I was talking about how millennials can't handle our movies. I showed the movie Trainspotting. Did you ever see the movie Trainspotting? I showed that to a young friend of mine. There's the scene when he goes in the toilet, when he loses the suppositories in the toilet and he goes to reach into the toilet. He ran out of the room to go barf. He couldn't handle it. He couldn't handle it. He couldn't even handle it. Like,
that's disgusting.
No. It's disgusting, yes, but it's also a really like powerful scene in this film. Artistically, it's incredible. The movie.
You could add playlists to your channel, then others can let it autoplay in the background while they body double. Yes. Exactly.
Yes. Peggy knows. Peggy knows about Trainspotting. Yeah. Just like, play, and subscribe.
Like,
right. Just let things play. Just let things play over, just forever and ever. Don't even matter. Put all my shit on repeat forever.
Watch Daniel and me all day.
You don't even have to watch. Right, we're just racking up the numbers. Where you got your graph paper, you got your statistics, you got your stats.
I think I'm like a couple 100 hours away from when people can buy like memberships to the channel, which will be cool.
Oh, yeah, I'm gonna try to get paywall stuff, right? So you like, I don't know, like if I give you like better recordings of things. I got all these songs I gotta like make proper recordings of.
Yeah. Oh, Poland in the house. My
all right,
ancestors are there.
Poland.
I'm part Polish.
Oh, there we go.
Thank you for coming. Eat a pierogi for me, please.
So far away. Why does everybody stay in one place anymore?
We need a Daniel Mustard original song, I think. Are you ready?
Is it time? Oh yeah. Okay. So I just wrote something on Monday, and I get a kick out of it. Hey, I just wrote this on Monday.
Thank you, Peggy. Yeah.
All right. I think I'm just gonna go ahead and bust this out real quick. Okay.
Bust it out.
God, songs. Play a song. Sing, monkey, sing. Okay. So this, okay. All right, I'm gonna take these out while I do this. All right, to be okay. I just gotta remember this because it's. Da, 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 da. Baby, sounds so familiar. That's something I think I've heard before. Baby, show me in the mirror the face you would have worn just to be. No. Just to be no greater than the sum of all your parts. Just to be no later than the sun out after dark. With everything before now. I knew it. Everything before now keeps angels fighting, even as they leap. And everything before now leads to rainbows riding on your sleeve. Everything before now keeps angels fighting, even as they leap. Everything before now leads to rainbows riding on your sleeve. Take it as you leave it, even as it goes. Seeing is believing, everybody knows. Break it if you need to, but remember the moon is reflected by it too. And everything before now, everything before now, everything before now keeps angels fighting, even as they leap. Leads to rainbows riding up your sleeve. Everything before now. You see, it's supposed to be overdubbed, but I can't, I gotta get a recorder to do that right, to sing it right. But everything before now keeps angels fighting, even as they leap. Everything before now leads to rainbows riding Anyway, yay! All right, whatever. It's just a nice little hook, and like I said, that's just Monday morning. So give me a minute. That'll get better.
Sounded great. You got so much love in the chat too.
I don't know. No, that was I don't know. I'm my hardest critic, and so I'm just like that just wasn't right. I think that song is much. Critic. I think that song is much better than that. No, I just think the song is better than that. I don't think I deliver the song as well as it could be or should be or whatever. But I have.
Is it your song?
Yes. Yeah. I'm saying I just wrote this on Monday. That's the point.
Oh, Monday.
That's why it's so clumsy. But everything before now keeps angels fighting. Everything, it has to overdub. Everything before now leads to rainbows riding up and down your sleeve. And everything before now keeps these angels fighting, even as they leave. Even as they leave. Like a leap of faith. And I love this idea. This is a sort of funny joke to me, I guess. A long time ago, I thought about like the joke of a fallen angel being an angel that just sort of clumsily fell out of heaven, like just fell through a hole in the clouds, like wasn't cast out of heaven, but literally fell. And that would be, to me, that's very funny, that idea. And I come back to that idea a lot, of the idea of angels accidentally falling from grace.
Did you see the TV show Lucifer?
No, I know the show you're talking about. It's it's
a good one.
David Tennant, and Michael Sheen. Is that the one where it's like the devil and God kind of like debating with each other, or picking at each other?
Well, it's like he's an angel that gets cast out of heaven to go do some work on earth for his dad, but he's Lucifer, and his dad is God.
That's a different show than I'm thinking of, but that's funny.
Show.
That's kind of the setup, Hellboy. Do you know Hellboy at all? The comic book or the movies?
I've heard of it. Yeah.
That's the setup there. Is he is the devil's son. He is Hellboy. Oh, okay. And the Nazis actually summon him during the war because the Nazis, like L. Ron Hubbard, were very much into the occult. And this is like a real thing they tried to do. And the comic book presumes that they did summon this demon, but instead of coming to them, it went to the Americans. And so Hellboy becomes a different guy. He becomes a hero instead of being the devil. He's resisting his own path. He's got this path set for him. He's supposed to be part of this, system. This,
just like us.
And like Little Nicky, like the Adam Sandler movie, Little Nicky.
Yeah. That was a good one too.
But he doesn't want to be.
Fiona's in Australia. It's 6:56
Oh, yay.
That's incredible.
Oh, my goodness. Good morning, Fiona. Yeah, I met some lovely Australian ladies the other day online. They're protesting. There's a woman in a unicorn costume. It was hilarious.
This is interesting. Vanessa, do you think that there are higher presence of ADHDers on the ex-Scientology YouTube channel? Also, what about people who blow? Perhaps people who are resistant to injustice, who are misfit. Yeah, I do think that's pretty prevalent.
The misfit, exactly. Think about when you're on course, when you're in the Sea Org, there's all this constant training, constantly reading these books and policies. And if you have learning disorders, if you have dyslexia or something like that, that's going to be really frustrating. It's going to make it really difficult. And there's no sympathy for that. It's like, well, you got to just work through your dyslexia or something. I'm not sure what
it's hard for those of us who have things like this because you're getting corrected more often. Maybe people are more likely to blow because they're just like, having such a hard time,
because that's a real thing that you're up against. Like, there's imagined things that you do create, you do create your own problems sometimes, but that's not always the truth. And a learning disorder is not an invented thing. It's a real thing.
Yeah.
And that's a real thing that when you come up against, and then the institution is saying, no, that's all in your head. It's like, okay. And then, of course, so many people get mired down in trying to live up to that expectation. That's of course,
there's also some recent studies out that a lot of late in life diagnosed ADHD adults have been through trauma and have significant trauma in their life. So that's an
ADHD might actually be a residual effect of trauma.
Something like that.
Certainly,
there's a correlation.
Certainly, that's the truth for me. You know, they were trying to put me on the ADHD meds when I was a kid, and my mother wouldn't let them. Did I tell you that story?
Oh wow!
She went to court.
I think you did, but tell me again.
She challenged it legally on religious grounds.
Wow!
that they couldn't mandate me to take psych drugs because psych drugs are against her religion.
So they actually did try to put you on psych drugs, just like they said they would.
They did, but I needed them. You know what I mean? Like, I wish, you know, there's a lot of these things that were taught to me as being villainous, but that were actually the things that I needed. You know, when I was first in rehab, I was mandated. This is a great story. I walked into that office at 9 a.m. when it opened, and I was already drunk as a skunk. And the social worker takes me back, and we sit down, and we're going through the paperwork and stuff. And he kind of stops at a certain moment. He puts his glasses down. And he kind of sits back in his chair, and he goes, you know, I don't have to help you at all right now. And I was like, what do you mean? He's like, you are drunk now. I was like, no, I'm not. I was totally shit-faced. And he mandated me to an outpatient program. And I'm really glad that he did. Yes, he forced me against my will. Yeah. But I'm really glad that he did. And one of the things that was really interesting about those outpatient programs, because it's not AA, it's not a program, like it's not one of those things, and it's a rehab. I only did actual rehab one time, Peggy, but I did a lot of detoxing and a lot of outpatient, a lot of AA, a lot of rooms. But thank you for asking. Don't make me go back to rehab. I said no. Fucking love that.
So the judge made you go.
When the social worker made me go. When I was a bum living on the streets, I broke the little bones in the ball of my feet when I went to Philadelphia. It's a long story. But when I came back, at a certain point, that record, I actually stood in the middle of the Virgin Record store to listen to that record on a pair of broken feet. That's how good that record is. That's all I'm gonna say about that. That's how fucking good that record is on a pair of broken feet. I was like, I have to keep listening to this. It's so good. Winehouse, god damn it. So I was mandated to this outpatient thing, and what I was gonna say about it, which I think is very interesting, is in like almost every group you have, there's a mix of people, and they're all there for different reasons. A lot of people, there's a lot of ex drug dealers, there's a lot of ex this, ex that, ex whatever it is, and sometimes there's these young girls who have had their children taken away because they were smoking marijuana, and we always have our sympathies are usually with these girls because we don't think that smoking a joint every once in a while is bad parenting. And the fact of the matter is, if you're a cokehead or an alcoholic, you can get away with it because that's out of your system in 24 hours and you can pass those tests. But the weed sticks around. So they're busting people who smoke weed and not people who are doing much more illicit things and much more dangerous things. So the system obviously isn't working. But exactly how it's supposed to. But the point is that these girls are often in these groups, and we always have so much sympathy for them. We're rooting for them to get their children back. And I remember thinking sometimes, God, I wish somebody had taken me away. Like, I wish that somebody had fucking social service had come, and I think I would have done better in a foster home, even in a group home or some fucking crazy place. Yes, 12-step meetings in New York City are quite exceptional. They're everywhere. It's per capita. There's more 12-step meetings in New York City than any other place. Free coffee. Yeah, well, when you're home, I wasn't going to 12-step when I was homeless, when I needed a warm place and a cup of coffee. But there are people that do come to meetings just for the warm place and a cup of coffee, and they're usually allowed to do that or not given any grief about it. Some people don't. Some people get really weird about that when people who they think aren't supposed to be there. It's like anybody who wants, at AA meetings. I'm like, I don't think that's for you to decide. I had a real problem with some of the attitudes, personalities. I had a real problem with some of the attitudes in AA as well as a lot of groups, and that's sort of like the line in the sand that people draw. I'm like, okay, you're my friend until this, and then you can, and it's like I'm sick of that shit. Some names. Aren't you funny? Well, I was earlier talking about 21 Pilots and what's her name? Courtney Barnett. I really like Courtney Barnett. Do you know Courtney Barnett? I bet you'd like her.
No.
She's Australian. She's like folk punk.
Okay.
And she had a thing with a guy called Kurt. There was a guy called Kurt Vile, and he used to be in a band called War on Drugs. And then he went solo, and then he toured with her, and they were Kurt and Courtney. There's that dyslexia creeping in. They were Kurt and Courtney, playing off of Courtney Love and Kurt Cobain. And then she went on to just be kind of like the coolest thing in the world right about the time 21 Pilots were taking off, but she wasn't near as hip. Billie Eilish and her brother, they're cool. Just it's interesting to me how sort of like this sort of alt rock and sort of hip hop kind of thing has like kind of become like everything is kind of a little bit of both those things now. Does that make sense? And I see that in Billie Eilish and 21 Pilots in particular. They kind of incorporate a lot of different styles. And that's the thing I'll say about millennials that I think is really cool is nothing sacred. Like in my generation, it was all about it had to be pure and shit like that. And millennials are like that. You guys are like, oh, here's a cool thing. Let's try that. Let's pull this in. Now we got a whole new thing. And I think that's exciting. I think that's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
I like the way that as what's his name? Pablo Picasso said. That good artists borrow, great artists steal.
Yeah.
Pablo Picasso and Jackson Pollock. There's the musical artist that's
your list. That's the names.
Jackson Pollock is an abstract painter. He was an abstract painter. Yeah. I like to think that I sing like an abstract painter.
That's unfortunate, Peggy. The rooms around DC were full of predators and quite cliquey, unfortunately. That's shitty.
Yeah, sometimes the rooms are super cliquey. And that's
the good thing is that in the pandemic, a lot of meetings like AA and NA went online. And so there's still a bunch of online ones now. They probably less cliquey and stuff,
All right. My name is Dan. I'm an alcoholic. It's been a long time since my last confession. Hi, I'm an alcoholic. I'm an addict, an alcoholic, and an asshole. Hi, Dan. In recovery.
Yeah.
That's another thing I had to come to terms with. I am kind of an asshole. I'm really either overly sensitive or really undersensitive. Like not at all. And I totally miss it. Like I totally miss things. Like people, like sometimes people get mad at stuff I say, and I didn't even realize I said anything offensive or rude or whatever.
Really?
Because I just don't know. I don't know what normal is. A lot of times, and not just because of the Scientology, but because of everything, Hollywood and feral and streets and homelessness and alcoholism, all of it. And it's
if you think about it, we were both raised not only in a crazy cult, but in Hollywood, and that's like
in the heart of Hollywood, right? As we in the heart of Hollywood, as we said in our outgoing
figure out
message.
What's real and get to real things,
right? Because it's a fake community, and then it's also a city full of people kind of faking it. And to some extent or another, everybody in Los Angeles is posing for their album cover or posing for the glamour magazine they want to be on the cover of all the time. They're look at me, and you see that in New York City too. But it's not. But New York City has this streak of I'm going to tell you some shit to your face. In there also that like Leah Remini, that's what makes her so great. That's what makes her I think so different. Is that is her New York. It's the New Yorker in her that comes out and goes, "What the fuck? You ain't gonna talk to me like that." When he snaps at her about whatever it was, or even the thing that Mike Rinder said on that or whatever. I think what kept him honest on that show was her, because every clip I've seen is some conversation where she kind of calls him out on something, and he has to go, "You're right." Like he claimed he didn't know Miriam's mom had any kids. And she says to him, "But would you have cared if you did?" And he's like, "No." But like that's what she brings to that. It's like, yeah, so what does that mean?
This week I read a very interesting article about another guy who was like it was Rinder Rathbone, and then this other guy who like has been disappeared since 2007. It was a fascinating article, but this guy, he's somewhere in there, probably at Gold or whatever. But
I feel like are they like
shit.
Don't they have everybody down at Flag now? It seems like they have everybody down at Flag now.
No, there's still people at Gold. When I went there with
we gotta remember
to try to see her dad, there were people out there exercising.
This thing isn't near as big as even we think it is. I think we have a tendency to overplay its presence because Scientology was always telling us it's the fastest growing thing in the world. And
wait, it's not.
It's growing faster than my dick. I'm sorry. And it wasn't, it was all a lie. So like we thought there were millions of us, and there's probably like
there's really not that many left. And they have tried to move everyone from LA over to the public. Somebody
said that that there's more ex-Scientologists than Scientologists. I don't know if that's true, but
I believe that. That makes sense.
That would be interesting. Mm-hmm. That would be interesting to know.
Have you seen the list at whyweprotest.net or whatever of all the ex-Scientologists who have spoken out? It's a lot.
Am I on there? I saw a list somewhere. I did see a list somewhere that Jamie and I were on. I did see a list somewhere that Jamie and I were on, but I don't know what list it was or who
it was probably that one.
Full of predators.
Let's hope. So it was that one, not some other crazy list.
I also want to say I really like the new Hozier song. I haven't heard the whole record though, but I like the new song. And then we've talked about the Kendrick Lamar song. And I don't know.
Yeah,
it's lovely, but I don't like that line. I just saw an article with John Stamos. Yeah, he was discussing how he like poked his head in at one point and didn't like it and walked away.
Wow.
And somebody was Natalie was going on about how hot he was and everybody had a crush on him. And I was like, I prefer Saget. Now there's a guy, Bob Saget. God, no. Bob Saget, who's the other guy on that show, right? Everybody had a crush on Jesse. Bob Saget, I thought he was because he's a big tall man. I don't know, something about that. And then I met him when I was going to the Beverly Hills Playhouse. There was a girl there who was a student and she was dating him. And he took us all out to the Chateau Marmont one night.
Uh-huh.
and the best thing about Bob Saget is because he was famous for that show and then the video, the funniest home videos. He was famous for some of the most family-friendly stuff ever made.
Yeah.
He is in real life vulgar as shit.
Well, did you see Half Baked?
Yeah. I sucked dick.
Remember his line, and that was super funny.
And that was intentional. That was Dave Chappelle trying to utilize who Bob Saget is outside of the context of those shows, because he was actually very dirty as a comic and very, very funny in a way that you didn't expect. You didn't expect the dad from Family Matters or whatever that show is. Not Family Matters. I can't remember what it's called. Full House. Family Matters was a different show. That was Urkel. Did I do that? But you didn't expect the dad on either of those shows to be all vulgar and potty mouth, but he was.
Yeah.
What's this? There's a big one. ADHDers. Yeah, I think there's a whole lot more of that.
They're common blowers and genetic than the relatives are in, maybe can be reached through certain strategies, emphasis, lack of novelty and creativity in your lives. Yeah. I think my dad has ADHD for sure. Like there's so many things after I learned about it that I was like, oh, that makes sense. He'll literally.
I think smarter people, that ADHD to me is just being easily distracted or drawn away by your own thoughts, your own fanciful thoughts. And certainly that was my problem. I don't know if that was a disorder so much as I was just bored mostly. Mm-hmm. And then again, like millennials, you guys benefit from like people actually talk about that. That's something that's acknowledged now, that a lot of times that the disruptive kid in class is actually a smart person who's just bored. They didn't think that back then. You were just disruptive. You were just a problem. And I was a problem in class. I was a problem everywhere. There was nowhere was I safe except maybe like the library.
What were you doing that they didn't like?
Being bored. mostly singing to myself or melting crayons on the radiator. I was just bored. It's the same story. You ask anybody who had like severe ADHD as a child, it's the same story. Bored as just bored, bored, and desperate. You know, you're really just I want something better than this or more or something. I don't you don't even know. You just know there's something not working here. But that was my whole childhood. There's just something not working here, and never knew what it was. So like that's another thing. You learn how to be comfortable being uncomfortable. Right.
I think I might have a touch of something on the autism spectrum as well, because I'm very sensitive. Very, very sensitive.
Well, they tell me I can't read facial cues, or I have trouble with it. I just think I see people's real responses. People to me, like I'll talk to people all the time. People look a little shocked. People look a little surprised. And sometimes I think it's just because they're surprised I'm speaking, or they're surprised I'm not. I don't know. They thought I was going to sound like something else, and I sound like this.
Yeah.
And and people look at me like, oh, and I go, oh, I'm sorry, did I bother you? And they're like, I didn't. They act like I'm making it up, and I'm like, no, you just made a face. No, I didn't. You know, that kind of. I have those conversations, or used to. I don't bother anymore, but I used to have those conversations a lot. So they tell you can't read facial cues, and I'm wondering if maybe it's because people don't realize they're making a face. Do you know what I mean? Like, even when they're trying not to.
Yeah, it's just implicit bias.
Well, it's also the sort of like, self-defense, like this, like everybody, particularly men, like you don't ever, you can't tell people something they don't already know. You know, that's a line from something. That's the tricky bit, is trying to tell somebody, especially something about themselves that you've observed. Now, this is a problem I have because I'm very observant, and often I'll meet people and they're very impressed by the way I can, like, oh, that person has this and that's that, and I can deconstruct people from across the room until you turn and they're like, oh, that's so great. Oh yeah, I know, and yeah, I know all about that. You're right. And then you turn to them and you go, and they go, no, you're full of shit. You're a crazy person. It's like, oh, okay, never mind.
Yeah.
You thought I was so clever 10 minutes ago. Now I'm an asshole.
Yeah, they're not ready for their own up close and personal critique.
I get that a lot.
Thanks for bringing that up, Treasure Bloke. That's the word I was looking for. There's hyperactive, impulsive, and inattentive. And those are the two main types. So I don't know.
I'm pretty sure that's before this language is available. My experience is before this language is available to us.
We are the best. Hey, Dad, what's up? I was talking about you earlier.
First of all, originally it was just ADD. It was the hyper part they added later. And that was like brand new. Like they were just using that term for the first time when I was a kid that I recall. It was not, people didn't really understand or know what they were looking for.
Yeah.
And now people, like, not just with ADHD, but with like Asperger's and autism and all these kind of like funny little things that are just like different. Some people are just a little different than others, and rather than smash them over the head for it, we're actually trying to like figure out how to make things work for them, for us, whatever it is.
Yeah.
There's a great Einstein quote about everybody's a genius. The problem is that we judge a fish by its ability to climb a tree. You put the fish in the river, fantastic, but you tell the fish to climb a tree, nothing. All the squirrels and the chipmunks, they're right, but they can't swim across the river.
Yeah.
But that's that's what it is when you're neurodivergent or neuroatypical, whatever it's called. Or
you should do an interview with Dodge sometime. He's really interesting. I did an interview on his channel.
All right, Dodge.
He covers a lot of political things. He's a redhead, just like
all right. Political ginger. Let's do it. Let's do it.
Political ginger.
I do use the word ginger. I'm reclaiming it. We're ginger. And only a ginger.
This is so true. ADHD and PTSD symptoms can look very similar. Totally.
Particularly the distraction and the disassociation and the kind of zoning out thing. When you're traumatized, you zone out, and that can look very similar to, or lead to this similar behaviors. Would love to have them on.
Yes. Watch
Political
political ginger. Yep, political ginger. That's your new name.
Only a ginger can call another ginger.
Political ginger at that.
Yeah. That's another thing. Where would you say Scientology tends to land politically?
Oh, very Republican.
Conservative. When I was a kid, this is interesting to me because when I was a kid, Scientologists were libertarian. But since then, the whole notion of libertarianism has been hijacked by Republicans in the form of the Tea Party. So people who call themselves libertarian now are not actually libertarian. They're Republicans pretending. But when I was a kid, they were all very proud of how libertarian they were because the idea is that you should be allowed to live your own life and not have to follow a whole bunch of rules or whatever it is. Yeah, Tim Minchin. That's it. That's right, Treasure Bloke. Tim Minchin. That's the guy. The King Ginger. He's the King Ginger, Tim.
Everyone needs a little ginger in their life. If I don't have a ginger,
honestly, this guy is genius. He's fucking hilarious. He's a musical genius, and he's also just funny as hell. What was I talking about?
A comedian once told me it's the only acceptable form of discrimination about COS regarding politics. Remember Joy Villa with the wild MAGA dress? Yep, at the Met Gala or Grammys. Yeah, she was at the Grammys, I think. She's a hardcore Church of Scientology. Yes, she is. I do remember that.
You know who I think was a Scientologist, and I'm not sure, but there was a movie years ago with Holly Hunter called 13. And it introduced to the world Rachel something Wood, who's on Westworld now. And it was about this 13-year-old girl who's just going through some crazy shit. And there's another friend who kind of comes into the picture and is the bad influence. And that girl wrote the script. Like that movie was actually about her life and she played.
I remember that movie.
Character. Okay. And I'm pretty sure she was a Scientologist. And there's all this stuff in the movie. The mother, anyway, sounds like a fucking Scientologist. Holly Hunter in that movie sounds like she's playing a Scientologist. Maybe that was Holly Hunter's choice as an actor, but she's always on about have you eaten, stuff like that. She's always always on about I forget. There's like 2 or 3 things that she says that just so sound like Scientology mom stuff. No, I was talking about the libertarian thing, and the libertarian thing has gone from being the sort of actual liberty idea to just another version of right wing bullshit. Oh, I got chastised.
It was really confusing coming out of Scientology when Trump was running for government because it was like I lost my religion, but also my. I think
I could do a whole piece. I think we should do a whole piece on how Trump is LRH and LRH is Trump. This is the same creature come back. And I don't give a shit about his politics. I see the cult. I see it. I see it. I see it. Yeah. I see it. I hear it. I recognize it. His politics irrelevant. I don't know what his politics are. Nobody fucking does. He makes up his politics day by day. Hi, Glenda. That's Lamar's mom, Glenda. Anyway,
no, he's definitely the LRH of politics. Like, there's no doubt about that. He even had his own fake covered colleges. He had Trump University. I mean, the parallels are wild.
All of it, and the what we call malignant narcissist, right? I don't know. This is totally self-serving jackasses, and I think they're all like that. I think this of Mike Rinder and Mitch Misker, and all of these old guys.
You just call him Bitch Misker.
Oh no, I'm swearing again. Oh damn it, Bitch Misker. I'd love to have a chat with him.
I know that'd be great.
I am annoyed. I'm annoyed at the old guys who want to throw shade at young people. I'm always annoyed at old people who want to throw shade at young people for doing what young people are doing, because young people always do whatever they're going to do, and they're going to do it in the way that they do it, and they're going to figure out the way to do it that is best for them, that is different from you. And there's all sorts of factors in their calculus that is not the same for you. And assuming, there's this joke about how your parents don't raise you to live your life, they raise you to live their life.
Yeah.
Right. And that's the mistake here, I think. Because everybody's got to do this their own way.
Is actually so interesting is because he only came out of the Sea Org in 2020.
Well, he was never really in the Sea Org.
Well, yeah, true. But he was like David Miscavige's homie, though, like close,
No,
coffee.
Mitch has a very unique perspective because he was around it all. He knew Dave. He had access to Dave. He knew Dave in a more intimate way than most people did. He heard the shitty things, a lot of the shitty things Dave used to say about people. And he was there on the base, on the secret base. The rest of us weren't even allowed to know where it was, never mind go there. Totally. Yeah, very interesting perspective. LRH is a dark triad. Trump is, you're right. Trump doesn't have the whatever it is, this compulsion to write it all down that LRH had. Trump doesn't have that. And that's how he lures people in. That's the one thing that does kind of like seem like, well, it must be something to it. He certainly wrote a lot about it.
He's the most prolific author of all time.
Or whenever anybody talks about a big course, when you get a big course, Jesus Christ, that means just more of the shit to read. Ow, it hurts my neck.
So hard. It was so hard to read that shit. It's like drivel. It just talks around in circles too.
Damn it, stop making sense. Now we're talking heads.
That's an interesting one. LRH reminds me of Nixon. Slick and sneaky behind the scenes and ultra paranoid. Yeah, pretty much.
Paranoid. That's the thing. There's so much paranoia. There's another one. I think every ex-Scientologist has to really, really monitor is there's a lot of paranoia bred into us people and everything. And again, comes back to Rinder, which we're not supposed to talk about, but that was, he sounds so fucking paranoid to me.
Rinder?
And yeah, he does. Mitch doesn't, but Rinder does. But yeah, I'm paranoid. I get paranoid all the time. I saw this girl today. I was walking the dog and there was this girl out front waiting to get in. And she looked just like a childhood friend of mine called Carmel Smith. I don't know if you ever knew her. She lived in she grew up in the Shangri-La. She grew up in Scientology. Her parents were both. Well, her father was a off the rails kind of mother person who did bad things. And her mother was a devout Scientologist. We always disavow the bad actors, right? But this girl looked like she could have been her daughter. And I thought, oh my God, it's Carmel's daughter come to stalk me for Scientology. Like I actually had that thought, you know what I mean? Or like the thing about the new janitor, the new custodian. He's nice to me. The old custodian never even looked at me. So the new guy, he's nice to me. He actually talks to me, and I'm like, what are you on? What do you want? Who are you really? Or there was a woman. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
When we were at that concert last week, this chick, for whatever reason, in front of us, turned around and started filming us. And it so triggered me because that's what was happening to me in LA. And it hasn't happened in a little while. I think I'm off their radar because I'm just chilling.
Vanessa,
no big deal.
Vanessa, can you imagine how paranoid I got the first couple of times I got recognized? The first time I got recognized, this kid just points at me and goes, "Mustard, you're Mustard." I'm like, oh shit. And I was still a bum on the street.
They found me.
Mustard. I'm like, oh no.
Well, they'll do crazy shit like that though too, just to fuck with people. So, but you weren't really doing anything at the time, like speaking out or nothing like that. So there'd be no reason.
No, I had no reason to be paranoid. That's what paranoia is. It's the fear without reason. There's no reason for that.
Well, there's hypervigilance too.
Yeah, there's that. Yeah,
being
that's the trauma.
Scientologist.
Well, that's also a trauma response.
Yeah, and I find that I always pick sitting in corners of rooms. That's a PTSD.
I'm very uncomfortable sitting my back to the room, and it to the point that it's disturbed people. I'm like, no, I got to sit back there.
Me too, because they're like, gotta.
And now I can. We say what?
Gotta watch the door. Gotta watch what's going on.
Something I don't even know what it is. It's yeah. Or just like I don't want people sneaking up behind me. There was that on occasion, people did sneak up behind you, but it was I felt safer living on the streets of New York.
Yeah, that's the crazy part.
And I think that really says something.
That really says a lot. You felt safer being a bum in New York City
living amongst
with Scientology.
Because
you could have totally gotten a job at a Scientology company, and
I did. I worked for
life.
I did. I worked for Peter
Shaw.
Gillum. I worked for Shaw. That's what I did
Yeah.
for a long time. I worked for all these sort of like, and like, there were all, the poorer public were always finding some hustle. So we did roadside sales, oil paintings and churros at the Rose Bowl and stuff like that. They're always looking for some hustle to flow more power to, yeah, right. Oh God, flow more power to my asshole. I'm so mad at all these phrases and I keep hearing them. They're triggering every fucking time. Yeah. Banky and theta, blah, blah, blah. You know what I remember?
They're still going. Like they're still doing the exact same shit as when we were kids. And there's kids in there that this is being done to. It's just crazy to me. It's 2024. Like, fuck, man.
Decide who your friends are. Well, my friends are whoever you tell me they are. Right?
A code of honor really fucks me up. Like, never desert a comrade in need. That's the worst advice ever. Like, you're going to be codependent your whole life. You're going to be like covering up for assholes.
But I think that's part of the lore, like you wouldn't possibly leave us. We're here. We need you. We need you,
Yeah.
We're saving the planet and everybody's against us because the psychs have taken over the world.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, those damn psychs. If only they knew. If only they knew how scared we were of them.
We're so scared of them.
Yeah, I've heard of this. I have seen the documentary, and people have asked me about it a few times about people who used to live in the subway trains, abandoned tunnels. I don't know even if that was in New York, though. I kind of thought that was another city, but I don't know. I do not know anybody who lived in subway tunnels these days. I don't think you get away with it. I really don't, but I'm sure there are subway tunnels somewhere abandoned somewhere where people are, there's always people squatting somewhere. I just can't imagine with the rats. There's so many rats. There's so many rats everywhere. And then like you go down in the subway and they're just like all over the place.
Where'd you sleep?
On the train.
Oh,
you
really?
Sleep on the train more often than not. You figure out how to sleep sitting up. Oh, I'm very good at that. And for whatever, for whatever reason, I didn't get as much shit. Some people got a lot of shit. Sometimes the cops are, real pricks about it.
That's crazy. That's how you'd sleep.
Well, where we slept most of the time was right across the street from the park in front of an NYU building. There was a vent in the floor, in the ground. In the cement that just a little bit of warm air came out of there. And we used to huddle over that thing. And somebody once got a one of those covers for a motorcycle, one of those, to protect the motorcycle. And we got one of those covers and we clipped it on the thing. And it was like a perfect little, like cap, just a little tiny heat, just the right amount of heat to just fill that.
Yeah.
And warm us all up in the middle of winter.
Yeah, that's cold.
But God only knows what was coming out of that vent. You know what I mean? Like what we were breathing all night, every night for years. And people still huddle around that vent. Last time I was around.
And they let you? They didn't.
Yeah, it's technically on the sidewalk, so I don't know how much. But they come around early in the morning to kick you out. So, they don't want the NYU kids to come to see us there. Ironically, of course, the NYU kids come and feed us. The NYU kids used to come and offer us food and stuff, like sometimes if you're there long enough, somebody will just bring you something. New York City, man, they do want to feed people. They don't, it's hard for people sometimes, I think, to just give money to somebody on the streets. But if you want to give, food, and don't be discouraged if they're not like, oh, thank you so much, because sometimes that's not what you need. Sometimes you do need something else. Belts. One woman one year just gave me a whole thermals, shirt, the top and bottom, just handed to me one day on 14th Street, that kind of thing. And there's these sort of charitable outreach groups that go around the city called there's a thing called the Midnight Run, and there's others like it, and they do like these backpacks with some kind of basic socks, clean dry socks. You ever want to give a homeless person something, give them some clean dry socks. And women, of course, have a whole nother a problem. There aren't as many women on the streets, but that's a whole nother issue as far as getting feminine hygiene products or just a good bra.
Totally.
I would imagine is an issue, but clean dry socks was always the thing. Whenever you met up with other people, you're all like, do you have any socks? I need socks. You got any socks? Who's got socks? Anybody got socks? Who's got socks? I need socks. I need socks.
Totally.
When I got the money from when Opie and Anthony gave me a little bit of money the first time I went up there, and the first thing I did was buy a big bottle of Svedka and a big bag of socks.
Wow.
Vodka and socks. Put that on my tombstone.
That's funny. You're hardcore. You're like, I bought a huge thing of vodka.
Huge thing of vodka and a huge thing of socks. Went to the Starbucks and we drank our vodka and changed our socks.
Oh my God. Did you share your vodka? Yeah.
I always share. Not everybody does, but I'm a socialist, so I always share. I remember that when I was still working at Tower Records, Tower Video. I worked at the video store of Tower Records in New York City on Lafayette and Fort, which is kind of an institution. It's gone now. Tower's gone, but record stores in general are kind of gone. You know, it's funny. There's an Amazon store on 14th Street. Just a big living irony. Because that Amazon and online buying is why a lot of media stores have gone out of business, bookstores, record stores, sort of thing. Anyway, what was I saying about working at Tower? I can't even remember what we were talking about.
I don't know. You're saying you share. You were a socialist.
Oh, yeah. There was a hot dog. There was a hot dog place on St. Mark's. It's kind of legendary now. It's called Griff Dog. And when they first opened, there was a guy came into the video store and talked to me for a little while, and then he left. We had the conversation. That was half of what I did when I worked there, was just talk about movies. I'm very good at that. And he then sent over a big bag of free hot dogs and stuff from Griff Dog. And I think he was assuming that we would then like buy, be customers, but he didn't realize how underpaid we were. And it was like working on staff. It was like being on staff. It really was. But I immediately shared these hot dogs with everybody else. And I remember a couple of guys, New York guys, being like not understanding. They just didn't understand that I didn't try to like get some money out of them or take them all home for myself. They couldn't understand that I would just go, hey, this is for everybody. It just immediately thought, oh, this is for everybody. I just didn't even think about it for me, even though it was delivered to me.
Wow. That kind of stuff. You must have felt special getting a big thing of hot dogs.
Well, I always feel I'm so fucking special. I wish I was special. I wish I was special.
Those New York hot dogs, though, those are supposed to.
The Griff Dogs are really, really good. I'll totally do an ad for Griff Dog. They were awesome. And they're not a Griff. They were really good.
Are they grifters?
No. I think that was the playoff words there. Anyway,
I've been reading on Reddit all week, and there's like this Reddit subreddit that all it does is like talk shit about creators that we know, and it's so bad.
Are they talking shit? Who are they talking shit about? Nora? Are they talking shit about us?
No, really. But no, I mean, we have a very small audience. So. Maybe one day.
Come on, build our audience just so we can get some shit to yell at. I want to yell at these people. I love it. I watch some of the stuff. I've watched a couple of things that are anti-us things, and they're just to me hilarious. To me, they're hilarious.
They're pretty funny. People have like time on their hands,
right? Well, it reminds me of those people that wrote those. The endless people who always write in KRs, these big long kind of diatribe KRs. Boy, you have time on your hands. Dodge.
That Reddit. They talk shit about me all the time. I kind of got off on it. Dodge. Right. They also love you because I've seen. Oh no, I'm sorry. You know who loves you is the subreddit about Zero Dark Tony abuse. They're
Zero
always
Tone.
Like Dodge is the homie.
Zero Tone 40. That's what I call him. Zero Tone 40. He's a child. He's like 8, 9 at the most. Man. That's what I'm saying. Like these people,
Bill talks about me.
These
it's
people
been
aren't
over a year. Like,
he wants you. He wants you.
Move on, buddy.
He likes you, Vanessa, and he's mad that you don't talk to him.
Oh, but he also like made some scary threats last year.
This is classic, like nerdy boy didn't get the attention from the girl in junior high, and he's still mad about it. And you just represent that girl. And he's angry at that girl.
Yeah.
Whoever it was that slighted him when he was 13, he's still mad at her.
He's a 53-year-old man. 53.
No. But he has the mind of a child. That's the problem with a lot of these guys. Arrested Development. That's why we love John Post so much. He's grown up, and he's a man. He's grown up.
What a sweet angel that John Post is.
Oh, what a relief! What a relief!
Finally, some adults who we can look at and be like, "Oh, you're not so bad. You're sweet."
Yeah, let's talk about bad examples. That's what Amber said, and what's in that movie. Like, she's on about the whole, like, the friend comes into the picture, and it's all about this friend's fault. It has nothing to do with anything real. Everything is in your head, and there are no good examples. Who are the good examples? Every time, I remember everybody I think I looked up to or admired when I was a kid got declared at certain points.
Wow.
There were a couple moments where a whole bunch of people just got declared all at once, and for being squirrels, supposedly, right? People who actually thought the point was to take what they had learned or they thought they'd learned and to share it in their own way. But that was squirreling, and so they all got declared. And all the people I like got declared early on.
That's crazy.
It's they got rid of all
that many squirrels, but I was just afraid of them. I was like, I don't want to go near that squirrel tech.
By the time we get to the 90s, the whole thing had just been completely rebranded. It was into David Miscavige'ville, a circus, right? And it was all, and it almost felt like he was trying to rebrand it to look like the Mormons, because the Mormons had kind of gotten very corporate and executive, and the Mormons are also in the business of buying up lots of properties and just sitting on them the way that Scientology does. Tax exemption. I don't want to end it. I don't want to go after it. I don't give a shit. But there's no fucking reason at all that anyone should define this thing as a religion, and it should get anything even close to any sort of privileges as such. It is ridiculous. It's like it's like calling Star Wars a religion. But ironically, someday it might be. So, but there's more like honesty, I think, in the Jedi theology than in L. Ron Hubbard.
Yeah. I mean, we only found out it's intergalactic at the very end of our religion, that there's allegedly all these.
And they should lead with that. Again, the weirdos that I grew up around, that was their favorite stuff. When they started hearing that stuff, that was the stuff they wanted more of. They loved the Aleister Crowley connections and Charles Manson.
Alien stuff, they would totally kill it.
They would get a crowd. They would get such a different crowd, but it'd be a crowd less willing to work for nothing. That's the problem.
True.
The crowd that would love the Xenu story right from early doors would not be the crowd that would work their fingers to a bone and clean floors with toothbrushes. That was the thing I remember. So many stories of cleaning floors with toothbrushes. Did you ever clean a floor with toothbrush?
No, thank God. I was pretty in ethics for the most part.
I know that's the other thing. You're such a good girl, Vanessa. I forget because you're such a vamp. But you are. You're a good girl. And
I've always managed to hang out with the bad kids, though. So.
Well, we were weirdly, we were really sheltered, and there's certain naivetes that come, naive kind of moments that we have, and I've had. Certainly, New York City kind of, beat all that out of me. How'd you find a place to live where you can smoke inside? Is that a New York thing? Oh, you can't smoke inside? And I'm not supposed to smoke inside.
Maybe that explains it.
Here's the thing is the not smoking in a building like that really only matters if you're climate controlled, because then the air is being recycled. And so that the cigarette smoke in one apartment is going to move, like hotels also. But this is a pre-war building. Like, there's going to get some smoke in the hallway, but it's not like the air conditioning is blowing my smoke into other people's units. I don't know. I don't quite understand it. But again, it's like this thing. I had no idea that was going to be the most offensive thing I do is cigarette smoke. I would have done more actually offensive stuff. Thank you, Peggy. Oh, the X generation.
Into a smoking apartment. It's like it's the 90s over there. It's like you're in the 90s over there.
We're kind of in the ghetto, right? It's not really. This is like used to be ghetto. When I lived around here, Glenda laughs. When I lived around here 10 years ago, it was what you might consider ghetto. But honestly, the most ghetto thing I've ever seen is Jersey. Tracy City, that's ghetto. Newark, that's ghetto.
Really?
Even Philly. It's funny. You think New York is going to be so much scarier than it is, and it's really not. Because there's so much tourism. There's so much of maintaining a look or a thing that's pleasant enough for the tourists to be here. So even if it gets even as criminal as it gets, the protection of the money, does kind of rule. And we get the tourist money is like half. I don't know what how much of what percentage of the city makes, but there's a lot of there's obviously Los Angeles is the same way. They cater to the tourists because there are so many. It's one of those places that everybody wants to come look at. Come look at our shit. It's shiny and tall.
It's such a nightmare down there, like Hollywood and Highland. It's just such a shit show with all the tourists always, Down where
that's my high school. That's my high school. I went to Hollywood High School.
Hollywood High?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
World famous Hollywood High School. How can I help you?
That's a cool campus.
I guess I have very little basis of comparison. It's cool because every once in a while you see the football field on Jimmy Kimmel. That's my high school. That's my high school. It's right across the street from the El Capitan in the studio where Jimmy Kimmel shoots his show. Someday I'm gonna get on Jimmy Kimmel so I can talk about my high school and the Fighting Sheiks. My sister was the Sheik, where she was the mascot when she went there.
Oh wow!
And I wore her Sheik. It's culturally insensitive now, I think, but it's based on Omar Sharif, based on the Sheik in the movie Lawrence of Arabia that Omar Sharif plays. And it was Omar Sharif when I was a kid. They've since changed it. He's less ethnic looking now, the character on the side of the wall, but he still has the turban. I don't know, like the what's the Chiefs? What's the team that they're trying to get them to change the name because they're called the Chiefs, as in Indian Chief, and they have a chop, and it seems like it'd be so easy to just change them to the Chefs. Yeah, and they can still do the job, right? But I think like calling your football team the Sheiks might not be exactly, it might not be culturally sensitive. But that's what it is, the Fighting Sheiks, and I wore that outfit for Halloween one year. The last time I went out for Halloween, in fact.
You gonna dress up this year for Halloween?
Say what?
Are you gonna do anything for Halloween?
Oh, Halloween? No, Halloween in New York is a endless party. It's like a 3-day party. It's a big
cool.
In NYC, and so like there's a whole big parade that then ends in Washington Square Park. So when I was living there, I would see all of it every year, all traipsing across my face. And people get really creative in New York City. I mean, really creative. People get really creative. I bet. I'm sure in LA too. And then I grew up with a lot of movie effects kind of guys who knew how to do that kind of stuff. So I've seen just the zombie stuff, incredible zombie stuff. I remember one year a bunch of us dressed in drag for Halloween in Hollywood, and we walked down Hollywood Boulevard, and we got so harassed and manhandled we couldn't do it.
Oh shit!
So funny.
That's horrible.
So funny. Guys just grabbing at our dicks. So they're walking in, like, oh shit! Didn't know that was gonna happen. But boy, what a weird thing for a bunch of Scientology boys to dress up like women.
Surprise, surprise.
I'm sure I'm blamed for that because I was the queer, right? So I'm sure it's my fault.
Mm-hmm. Who else were you with? Like
Brett Reed, Justin. There's a guy called Justin West, a couple of the Wesses. There was 2 different Wesses. Wes Edwards, Wes Thompson. And I have no idea what I don't know what their status, any of their statuses are as far as if they're still in or not. But they were all born.
I wonder about some of the people, like where they are today, because there were so many kids around when we were kids, of all ages.
Well, that's what the Shangri Lodge was just crawling with kids. Scientology kids that nobody was looking after. There's all these like weird sex parties when we were kids. God, I probably shouldn't.
No.
I probably shouldn't talk about that. But like we were kids, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, latchkey kids. Well, they used to call latchkey kids. And there's these few hours between when kids start coming home from school and parents start coming home from work. And if your parent was on staff or went on course after work, that was probably way into the evening. And we got into all sorts of trouble. But we were all very proud of ourselves for not getting into drugs. Oh, we weren't druggies, not like the other kids. The other kids were druggies. We were whatever other things. Children, children acting like adults, thinking they're adults, and all of us. I realize now we're all sexually assaulted children. We're all abused children. Certainly of the stories I know of the people individually that I would love to talk to.
Disheartening.
So what? Disheartening, yes.
Disheartening.
Yeah. It just, all that could have been, Yeah, the latchkey generation. We got a lot of trouble in that latchkey, in that little latchkey space. People complain about, like, people will say, like, oh, in the 70s, they kicked you out of your house when you did your homework, and then you had, you stay out to the lamp post, the street lights come on or something, right? And they romanticize the freedom of that. But at the same time, kids got abducted, people got hurt, people got, like, bad things happen. I knew kids got shot because they were just running around the streets like that. So it's not Hollywood. People got shot in LA back in the day.
Look, it's another of our favorite gingers.
A prostate. It's the prostate Alex.
Oh no, not you two again. I was wondering.
Dirty needle. Crash. Dirty needle. He's got a crash.
Dirty needle. Oh, no. I always make Alex's needle dirty. I can't help it.
I think you do the same thing for Zero Tone 40.
I'm gonna bust out my e-meter right now.
Damn, right? Get those cans.
Audit away that dirty needle.
Till the streetlights came on, yeah. That's funny. Oh, joy. Oh, fuck. At least we can laugh about it. Right?
Yeah. I mean, we were walking around by where Cece is and lower, like, as super young children. Like, I'm really
when you cross the freeway, and it was kind of like living like the old school, like, train tracks. You cross the tracks, and it's a different kind of town. And so you go just the Bronson, just the bridge over, on the other side, it was Tamarind and then Yucca, right? And then you cross Bronson.
By Tommy's.
Yeah, Tommy Burgers, and there's a what I would call a bodega, but the liquor store on the corner, and there was a tranny bar right next to that. Is that still a transsexual bar?
No.
It was we go out there at in the middle of the, at like whatever, when it closed, like at 2 or 4 in the morning. It was 2 in the morning back then, or was it 4? I forget. But and it was always like these 6-foot transgendered women and little tiny Mexican men.
Wow.
Would come pouring out of that bar every night. And we thought it was
wow. I know exactly what you're talking about too.
That's and the block in between the freeway and Hollywood Boulevard, there's a block right in between there. And on one end of that block is a church, and on the other end there's a parking lot. And there used to be a parking structure there where a couple of cops were abducted in the 70s. They made a movie out of it called The Onion Fields. And the couple of cops were abducted and murdered, like in an onion field in the the agricultural backdrop of California. So that neighborhood was a little notorious when we first moved there. Crazy. And Cece was in ruins. They had to rebuild the whole thing. Feel my finger.
I think that's one of my favorite things about speaking out and meeting so many other exes. Ability to make jokes and laugh about things. So important to find light in the darkness. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, feel my jokes about it. Feel my finger has a whole nother connotation for me.
I mean, it's always been creepy. Feel my finger, like,
well, it is very literally a thing people used as an excuse to touch children or touch women they weren't supposed to be touching. Touch people they weren't supposed to be touching.
Nervousness and feel my finger are two totally bound.
And then I'm sorry, what Peter Anderson is saying. Yeah, whenever I hear the phrase "pull my finger," I think the same thing. Nah. I'm sorry, Vanessa. I cut you off again.
Feel my finger, bitch.
Feel my finger up my ass. Yeah, I feel your finger.
Who's Club Brain Frog? Is that just us?
No, Club Brain Fog, I think is. Where do you see that?
On the chat, it says room raid. Oh, hey, Jen.
I know that name from somewhere. Club Brain Fog.
Sent me all the way from San Francisco. I don't know whose channel that is, but I'm super glad that they're sending people over. All the way in San Francisco.
Oh, okay, that's what I know the name. Oh, okay. All right. Is that our cue to finish up?
Soon, yeah, soon we'll wrap it up, you guys. Yes, Jen, you do owe me an email. Jen put together this lovely guide to Salem.
Yeah, I recognize Club Brain Fog, and that's why, because I've heard the name said, although I don't know.
Oh, she's a protester in San Francisco. She protests every day.
Yeah.
Wow, cool.
I see this.
What do you think about the protest movement?
Who, me? Oh, I love it. Yeah. I love social disobedience. I think it's excellent. Even if it's misguided, even if it's done wrong, it still needs to be done. And the point is to bring attention. The point is, so like, even like there's a woman who goes out there in a big unicorn costume, and it's hilarious. And it makes no sense, but it's, people go, what the fuck is that? And that's the point. Yeah. And I love the idea of just standing out there and going, don't go in here. You don't want to go in here. This is not what you think it is. Don't go in here. Yeah. Don't go in here. And there's somebody who's specifically, I think it's in Austin, where the Scientology Center is right next to the freshman dorms. They're recruiting these kids, these 18-year-old kids. And so, like, yeah, get out there, fucking stand in the way. I don't know what. I just
worry that, like, because I remember seeing protesters and being afraid of them. I just worry sometimes that it pushes people closer.
I'll say this: if you're going to protest, be polite. Kill them with kindness. Kill them with kindness. Kill them with kindness. Is something Gary Imhoff used to say. Kill them with kindness. Totally. You kill them with kindness. You be polite. You be nice about it. Don't get mad at them. They're victims. They're not the perpetrators. You remember, like in Vietnam, when the soldiers are coming back from war, the hippies got mad at the soldiers and were protesting at the soldiers. And we realized, oh no, it's not the soldiers we're mad at. We're mad at this institution sending the soldiers. The soldiers are being victimized too. They're getting victimized too. So don't be mad at them for what they're doing. Don't come at them. You got to come. Weirdly, you got to come at them with sympathy. I'm so sorry for your plight, that you're trapped in this head game still. But you're visiting the darkness. I was born to the darkness. Get out of the darkness.
That's why they call me Queen of the Underworld. It's not for no reason. We were born via sex magic.
Right? I want some of that Aleister Crowley old voodoo magic. Did you watch that movie Heredity? Did you watch Heredity?
No.
You really? Oh, you must see it. It's such a trip. And particularly when talking about cults and black magic and stuff. That movie you really want to see it. Protesting. I think kill them with kindness is the best thing you can do, because you have to prove to them, the people in the building, that what they're being told about us is false. They need to see that they're not foaming at the mouth. They're not crazy people. She's really nice. She's super cute, or whatever it is. They
brought up a good point. That would be, like if you can actually talk with them and you can bring up a good point. It's really hard for them to just a lot of it, I think, is about coaxing people to listen to their own instincts. In Scientology, you're trained not to. You're trained not to listen to your instincts. You're trained to deny them or explain them away. You're taught to ignore your body. You're not taught to really listen to yourself. And so that's something you can push at them. Listen to yourself. In there somewhere, there's a voice telling you there's something wrong with this. There's something wrong with this. Listen to that. Don't listen to me. Listen to that voice in your fucking head. Realize this for yourself. Cognate. Cognition. I mean, that's the hardest part, fighting them with their own language. Because at first, that's like a step of coming out. Now I don't even think in Scientology terms, but before I would try to prove a point through their own policies and references and all that. And you don't even have to do all that shit.
You don't have to, but it helps. I think it's good. I think it's good. It helps me with Christians. When I'm speaking to Christians, I have a fair amount of information about their own doctrine. Sometimes, shockingly, I find I know more about their doctrine than they do. But if you can talk to them in their terms, instead, don't be antagonistic. If you're antagonistic to anybody, any person of faith, that proves to them they're right and you're wrong
Yeah.
when you're antagonistic. So I would say that I would give that suggestion, but I would never tell anybody how to do what they're doing. And the fact of the matter is, people who are doing it are going to know better than I am what's going to work and what's not going to work. I have a friend in the neighborhood, Decky. She's a bit nuts, and she wants to go into the New York org with like a GoPro mic. And she's just the kind of person that just kind of gets engaged in really long-winded conversations with people and would just be a nuisance more than anything else. And she thinks it would be hilarious just to harass them like that. I don't know if it'd be worth it, but I don't know. Is there any business at the New York org? I've been there twice, and both times I was there, nothing. There was nothing. There was nothing. They barely even had people in the building. So I have no idea.
So miserable for the staff members to always be down stat and stuff. Like, geez, that's rough.
Again, I still don't know why people joined today. I can wrap my head a little bit around why people joined back in the 70s when they thought the world was falling apart and they were desperate to find some sort of stability. You talk to people from back then, they really did think the world was coming to an end between Nixon. Like now, Nixon seems tame compared to Trump. But at the time, Nixon, that was so shocking to people. And the way that Vietnam went down was just gut punch around the world.
Yeah.
And I think that most of the first world spent the 70s in shock. That's why all the sex and the drugs. It was all Studio 54 and everybody was getting coked up because we were freaked out about what happened all through the 60s and everybody got shot. Who didn't get shot in the 60s? And so like, I forget my point here. I had a point. I was going somewhere. I was headed somewhere. I'm sure of it. Sure, I understand, to some extent why people out of like fear and desperation, people went to Jonestown. People went to all sorts of bizarre places.
Well, it's also the Enlightenment era where all this new self-help stuff started coming out.
And the Eastern philosophies and mysticism and all this stuff was very in. Yeah. And there were a lot of communes in California and Hawaii and places, there's still communes. And that hippie commune thing was we aim to educate, Glenda. We aim to educate. Oh, I'm sorry, you had on this one. What did he say? What was he saying?
Very true. Scientology is like being in a deeply abusive
relationship. It's very codependent. Yeah, really and that was what I wanted to say. This thing about always being in trouble. You always feel like you're in trouble. Anything you do that isn't on point, as far as following the rules and all that, is this, flap, it's interpolative and all this stuff. And that's one of those things that infuriates me, is all the times that I needed my mother, that I need to say to my mother, this horrible thing just happened to me and I need to tell you about it. But I couldn't, or I felt like I couldn't because it was interpolated. I was 5 years old, already keeping secrets because I didn't want her to know that horrible things were happening. I didn't want to interpolate her. Everything was already so hard. Single mom with 4 children at the time, So
you kept your own secrets, which no child should need to do. You shouldn't ever have to worry about that.
Not from, my mother, the one person in this world I'm supposed to be able to turn to and go, oh, I hurt. And you couldn't do that because that was bank, that was downstat, that was theta. Who is fuzzy pink handcuffs?
I don't know.
P.T. Barnum says, this one. No, P.T. Barnum says, there is a fool born every minute, a sucker born every minute. Can be tricked, conned, recruited, etc. I just don't know why.
A lot of the protesters are worried about people not going inside of Scientology, but I do know that most of us in the X community, we do really worry about the people who are still in there. And it might be a lost cause, but it is like what motivates me is the people who are still in there. I think about a lot of people, like this girl I saw this morning that reminded me of my friend Carmel. And I wonder what happened to her. Like last time I heard, she was the lounge singer on the Apollo. On the free ones.
On the free ones. I don't think the free ones. She was the singer on the the entertainment, I guess they have. So she was on that boat for a long time. I don't know if she still is. I wonder where she is. Bank. Let's see.
Can explain that really quickly.
KSW. Oh yeah, the KSW. Oh, keeping Scientology. Keeping Scientology wiping my ass.
So your bank is your storage of all your reactive mind images and recordings. And LRH believed that your reactive mind was always recording, and in moments of trauma or upset, pain, unconsciousness,
right,
that your bank is recording these things, and that the thetan actually, the bank stays with the thetan from lifetime after lifetime. So Scientology is trying to get rid of your bank.
Right. And it's how you account for things that didn't really happen. So you must have some past life, some subconscious, something happened when you were unconscious, something happened that you don't remember because it was traumatizing or painful, or in a past life. Oh, okay. All right.
And you must have done something to pull it in a past life. That's contained inside of your bank, allegedly.
Yeah. And it's the a subconscious part of your, it's
KSW is really will fuck with you too. KSW is like very indoctrinating.
The bank thing is where like a blackout drunk goes. When you describe what happens when you're a blackout drunk, you just go to your worst impulses, your worst, most devious place. That's what your bank is. And
as kids, we were told not to be banky too. Like, just knock it off. Don't be banky.
And everything is psychosomatic. So like nothing is like, you're not sick because you're sick. You're sick because you're stimulated. I used to get sick every Christmas because I was born on Christmas. So that was okay. You were born on Christmas. So of course you get sick on Christmas because you're stimulating the birth engram. And right. And that was okay. I was allowed to get sick on Christmas, but that was it. So I did.
Because they knew about why. Because you're engram.
Because we had a appropriate Scientologically explained reason. So, that made sense that you get sick on Christmas, but any other time was intolerable.
Acting banky would basically be any time that you're showing emotion.
Yeah. What we're really talking about is how they use this against children. So like if you're yelling, like all of this stuff was designed for a small group of grown adults on a boat where you really do have to like be on point all the time, or you sink or you crash. So then they move that into the org, and anybody who's been on staff knows how nuts that is. And then even in Scientology workplaces, and then you move that into homes, you bring that into child rearing, the idea of fucking conditions and all this stuff, or just that it's constantly telling your child whatever you're upset about, that's your fault. You're making that up. You're creating that, and you have the power to stop it. Now, I have said this to grown people, but to say something like that to a child is fucked.
Yeah.
And that was my entire childhood. Everything was just me and my reactive mind, and nothing had anything to do with the abuses I was sustaining or how horrible she was. The woman was, handsy as fuck, and nobody knows that. Nobody knows she was beating me up the whole time. What was your bank, lady?
Yeah, for real though.
No, but it's a horrible thing, like to see somebody chastise a child for being a child.
Yeah.
Or never mind to be that child. And it's kind of a mind bending thing for me when I see parents be sympathetic to their child's upset. Oh, I'm so sorry she's upset. Or they there's concern. Oh my goodness, there's concern for the well-being of this child, as opposed to the embarrassment or whatever it was. I think I was just embarrassing. Like she didn't want everybody to know what a banky kid she had because I was supposed to be a return, second life or whatever.
Clear.
Yeah. And that fucks you up because they look at you like they talk to you like you're a science experiment. They're always quizzing you about stuff.
Like you're a very old soul.
Oh, such an old soul. And every time I hear somebody say that old soul thing, I'm like, oh, stab me in the heart. Did not help me any being an old soul.
Banky short for memory bank or what? Like, kind of, I guess, but not really.
I wonder if that's where it comes from. I don't know where that term originates. Memory bank I know is a computer term, but computers have been around longer than we know, than we really think of them as being. So that may have been a phrase in use at the time.
It's just another word for the reactive mind in Scientology.
But those notions of being banky and being surfacky or H-E-N-R-E, like the H-E-N-R-E thing still bothers me so much.
So
chastised
ridiculous.
For
having
showing human emotional reaction. It's such a horrible thing to say to a child. Oh my God. but never mind. I mean, it's not a good thing to say to an adult either. Don't be human. Don't be
Yeah.
human. You point out this stuff all the time, all the dehumanization of it, terminals, and even in the language, the way we're kind of taught to talk to people like we're machines and not people. And again, like if it really were down to the brass taxes, like it was the last dozen people on the planet or something, you know, you'd have to pull together and do shit right. But it's not like that. You know, it was never like that. The urgency all the time, the urgency, any minute now, either the world's going to go to hell on fire or we're going to clear it. If we can't clear it in time, we're all doomed. Oh, we have it right now. And it's going to happen right now. And and they're
just wasting their time. I mean, really, they're just doing menial tasks, wasting their freaking time. It's sad.
Smoke too much. Yeah, so many of the terminology is stolen. A lot of it's military terms. A lot of it's, you know, stuff he borrowed from psychiatry, even though he claims he has nothing to do with it. Yeah, he doesn't, you know, but he was, you know, cute with the language. He was definitely prolific. He made up a lot of funny little phrases.
Yeah, I noticed it was hard because a lot of the words he perverted. Like he didn't change them entirely. He changed them a little bit. And that's really hard.
Again, definition of words. We all operate on kind of a quirky definition of a lot of this language. And even though we're always sent to the unabridged dictionary, he still had his own like version of what these things meant. What is an attack? What is a friend? You know, what are these words?
I have a tech dictionary right here.
Don't you do it. Don't you do it. Don't you dare.
I mean, I won't, but it's so trippy to like look up some of these words.
I do not want to look up any of it. I don't want to be reminded of it. I'm pissed about how much of it I do remember. Like how much of it is still there, still fucking pisses me off. And I wasn't even in the Sea Org. I didn't even get it drilled in my head the way a lot of people did. Well, I did, just in different contexts. But it infuriates me. I think about all the music I could have in my head that I don't because this fucking lingo is filling up my CPU.
Totally. Words.
Yeah, exactly. The word clear didn't so much clear up your words, but tell you what you were supposed to think or what you were supposed to take from those words. How you were meant to understand them as we define them. Yeah. Like your friends are just the people who support our group. And another binary notion. Friends or enemies. There's nothing in between.
He hijacked and twisted critical and responsibility, turning them both into mind goo to suit the cult. Absolutely.
This overactive sense of responsibility. You're responsible for your own condition. You're responsible for your own condition.
Well, that was what I was going to say about being Banky, is that starts the indoctrination so young that you're responsible for every emotion that you have in life, which, you know, you can have emotions. If somebody comes up and punches you in the face and you don't get upset, that would be weird, but not in Scientology. It's like,
no, you're expected. And I've had that experience, you know, not for nothing. I've been in those moments where somebody's coming at me like that, and the fact that I can stand my ground and look them in the eyes and actually keep talking to them as they're hitting me.
Because we were raised to be psychopaths.
But it does something. You know, people stop hitting you when you don't respond.
You know, people always try to come up behind me and scare me, and I don't get scared. I just turn around and stare, and they're like, whoa, I guess I won't try that again.
Oh, the cold, dead stare. The cold, dead stare of a lifelong Scientologist.
Yeah, for real. I give them the Sino eyes, and they back off.
My needle is floating. My needle is floating. It's dirty.
Dirty needle.
We'll crash. Did you ever have any like whole track recall in auditing? I was going to say therapy. And what do you think of that? Did we talk about? So all right. I wonder sometimes what to make of that.
Half of me thinks that when you're given, like we were given the setup that we weren't going to be going anywhere unless we came up with something. So part of me thinks that the human imagination is really wild and that it can create anything we want if we're just asked that question.
Yeah, and certainly I also think about the things that we were praised for, because we were chastised for so many things as children that we shouldn't have been, and we were praised for weird things like acting like adults, or having wins on chorus, or making a good testing to your wins and all that. Right? You write something well, you write a KR well. That's the sort of stuff we were praised for. And that's the sort of thing I think about, is like, you wanted so much to have an experience in auditing because everybody was selling it so hard and everybody made it sound so wonderful. And of course, you were praised for going, you were praised for participating. And certainly you were praised for that.
I had elaborate, long-winded, very many sessions about this person who I knew in my life currently during the time of auditing, who I had believed was like a past life suppressive / lover / all of this. And it really fucked with my head as a teenage girl who's like going through this, and the person's like, yeah. And I'm like, so me and him, we were in love. And
and all this inappropriate shit with the kids.
And nobody had to talk with me about, like, maybe you don't want to hang out with narcissistic men. There was none of that. It was just clearing the engram.
Did you know any non-narcissistic men growing up in Scientology? They kicked them out. Those are the guys I'm talking about. All the people that got kicked out were the non-narcissists. And they kept all the narcissists.
They breed little narcissists. It takes an effort to not be a narcissist and be a sociopath when you were raised this way. It really does.
Yeah. And these words, I'm sorry. I was reading Peggy's message, her comment about her mother. Yeah. And she always called me an old soul. Drove me crazy. The narcissism thing and empathy, those two words keep coming up because I think they're things that Scientologists have trouble with. But I also think it's those things that kind of draw people in, or I don't know, it draws in empaths because we want to like save the world and we like that, but then corrupts them somehow. And I don't know if it draws in narcissists, or I think it creates narcissism. I think that Scientology, I think Scientology actually creates it. And somebody was like, no, it draws them in. And I was like, well, yeah, that too. But I really do think that these head games actually do.
We were taught basically to be little L. Ron Hubbards, and that is going to teach you to do.
Yeah, we were taught to
life, cause over matter, energy, space, and time, blah, blah, blah.
The nest universe. I remember saying that. I used that as a real word once. What? No, nothing.
They used to call me a little theta potato. That was my nickname.
Yes, you were the theta potato. Oh my god, theta potato.
Theta potato.
A walking bull bait and a theta potato.
That's us. What a match we are.
No, but shit. This dumbest. It's, I don't know. It's just so dumb. Yeah, you were such a theta potato. I don't know if anybody ever called me a theta potato. Maybe my mother once or twice. Trying too hard. Trying to believe it. I don't think she believed it. I
thought theta potato was a joke for a long time. It's not. I think Hubbard understood sadomasochism and how to encourage both aspects in people. Yeah. I think so.
And I've said this before, like in all the recovery spaces I've been in, it's all the stuff that people are learning how to not to do, or all the stuff that L. Ron Hubbard was teaching us to do, to lean into. And he was, I think he was transposing his own mental illness all over anybody who would sit long enough to listen to him. And certainly you see that as it's displayed in that movie, The Master, the way that he kind of just breaks down Joaquin Phoenix and builds him back up in his own image or whatever it is.
Alex, I used to think the Theta Bop was a dance move.
It could be. It could be.
When the needle does a little Theta Bop on the machine. Theta Bop. Because you're a Theta Bop.
You got to keep your head loose. Otherwise, you get a dirty needle.
Wow, all the way from Clearwater, Florida.
Dusty soda. I'm always suspicious of anybody who's still in Clearwater. Get out.
That's
what are
where
you
my
doing?
parents are.
I know that's where a lot of people are. A lot of people I know.
Oh yeah, they're all in the bubble, but it's a weird place to live, that's for sure.
Florida worries me.
I mean, it's a cool place. They have like water everywhere. You can always go sit by a creek,
not a drop
or
to drink,
or whatever. Yeah.
water everywhere, not a drop to drink. No, just the Florida and the humidity and the bugs alone is going to keep me away. And then all the craziest stories. You always hear the craziest stories. Florida man has become like a thing. Florida man did some crazy thing today. In Largo, like Key Largo, like the Florida Keys, is that Key Largo?
It's just a Largo.
Ooh, I want to take you to Bahamas.
So many episodes of true crime shows start with Clearwater, Florida. Like an enormous amount of them.
A hotbed of crazy shit. I wonder why.
Yeah. Pretty weird. Getting tired?
No, well, no, I know I pass an MU.
Funk. Let's look up your
because that's the only reason anyone ever yawns.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I got a misunderstanding on Largo.
Yeah, there's a plain Largo
and Mar-a-Lago, and there's a Key Largo.
Yes, not to be confused with Mar-a-Lago.
As in next to Clearwater. All right, no Largo as in no Largo. Now we're no Largo. Key Largo, C Largo, no Largo. Mm-hmm. Oh boy, now I'm just talking gibberish.
LA has its fair share of craziness too, but as an outsider to me, it felt like a different kind of crazy in Florida. Yep, Florida has its own kind of crazy, that's for sure.
You know, Florida has this whole like don't tread on the attitude, like they think everybody's just their own little island. And they got a lot of islands in Florida, so I don't know. Maybe everybody has their own little island. Unlike the other states, Florida never agreed to declare war. Oh, is that true? I didn't know that.
That's
yeah, Florida and Texas and then Alaska, I think they have different rules as far as their union, their incorporation into the union. Yeah, Florida, because Florida was a Spanish territory for a long time.
Wow.
It was not part of the original colonies. It was not part of the Great Western expansion. It came.
I can't believe Aaron still lives in Clearwater. Like, it's so crazy to me.
I thought he was. Yeah, no. Like a lot of people still do. A lot of the YouTubers and a lot of the content creators. Another fucking phrase, man. Another fucking phrase. The content creators.
Content creators. That's you now.
Oh, that's all.
You're a content creator.
It's the whole drugs are bad. Okay, South Park. It's everybody now though, isn't it? Like I was in the park the other day and some kids came up to me and were videoing stuff and they asked me questions and like everybody's creating content all the time. I see kids all over the place rehearsing their dance TikTok sequences all over the place. Everybody's making content now. That's how we know we exist in the world. I make content, therefore I am. I TikTok, therefore I am.
Fuck that is so bad. I appreciate the real people too who just stay off the internet and they're just normal people, but
that's not normal anymore. Normal is everybody's online now. Even like villages in undeveloped undeveloped places, they're still online. Everybody's online. Everybody's got a Wi-Fi. Except me, I won't have Wi-Fi. I do very much like Ben Harper, Peggy. Yes, I do. And Jack Johnson.
Is great.
And this sort of like there was a whole lot of like guys with acoustic guitars a few years ago.
Yeah.
Before the girl, then girls with a dude and a mixer that kind of took over. Who's the girl from New Zealand? Royals, the girl that sings Royals, like that kind of girl singer with a dude on a mixer. Royals. We got oh fuck! I used to know that song. Lords, that's her name. Lords. Her name is Lords. But before that, it was a lot of these guys like Ben Harper, Jack Johnson, guys with acoustic guitars.
Yeah,
I dig it. I do.
Duncan Sheet.
Duncan Sheik is cool. He went on to make musicals. He made a musical called Spring Awakening, and he had something to do with a more recent musical too. Something Evan something or other. That's what he does now. He writes musicals.
Oh wow.
Because I am barely yeah, Lord, that's her name, yeah.
Because I am barely breathing. That's
I
a good
can't
one.
fight the air. Kidding, don't know who I'm kidding, imagining you there. That I remember. I can't remember the Lord song, but I remember Duncan Sheik.
I miss the Goo Goo Dolls. I was giving them a listen the other day. They're such a great band.
They were tight. They had a couple really big songs.
Mm-hmm.
I have a story about a Goo Goo Doll. I was in when I was at the BHP, a bunch of us went out to an Indian restaurant near the Beverly Center one night. And we shared the bill, and it wasn't very much. We were surprised by how little it was. We thought it was maybe more reasonably priced than we had assumed. It turns out somebody else had paid a bulk of the bill, and we didn't realize that. And so we went back to this restaurant thinking we could afford it. And then we got there, we sat down, we realized we couldn't. And at that moment, we looked to our left, and sitting at the table next to us is the bass player from the Goo Goo Dolls on a date with a very pretty girl. And Claire, who I was with at the time, we pretended to have a fight, and she threw a napkin down and stormed out. That's how we got out of the restaurant. And and Mr. Goo Goo Doll was very upset by it. Say what?
That's hilarious. Alex, yeah. I love my Jimmy Eat World. So
Jimmy, I remember them, Jimmy Eat World, yeah.
They're the best. I've seen them in concert like at least 10 times.
Oh, okay. Who have I seen in concert?
Faves.
Ani DeFranco I've seen in concert a couple times, but I haven't seen anybody 10 times. I saw Weird Al Yankovic twice too, but that was by accident. The second time was by accident. The first time was on purpose. Yay. The second time was by accident.
We have some Goo Goo Dolls fans in the chat.
Yeah, what was that? I don't want the world to tell me, because it don't and now I understand. Because everything needs to be broken. That was kind of a big deal because they were like much more of a kind of post-punk alt band at first.
Yeah.
And then they had a kind of radio hit with a song called something about I don't know your name. Iris, that's it.
Yeah. Oh no, Name. That was Name.
Yeah, that was okay. They had a song before, and then the big movie song came. The Meg Ryan movie, the Nick Cage movie. I can't remember.
Oh yeah.
City of Angels.
It was City of Angels.
Right. And that song, and then and Sarah McLachlan blew up real big off of that record too.
Yeah, Black Balloon was a really good one too. Yeah, they had a lot of hits.
And then more recently, they came out with a full-on pop song, like old guys in their 40s singing pop. I don't know. I don't think it quite worked. It was a good song, but I don't think the video worked. I don't think the aesthetic worked.
Like that.
You know, when older people try to like live up to the young people kind of aesthetic, it doesn't really work. And I remember this in the 80s. There were a lot of 60s artists trying to like revamp themselves in the 80s, like Rod Stewart, people like that.
Yeah.
Paul Simon and some, you know, Rod Stewart had big hits in the 80s, so did Paul Simon. So, you know, it worked. But they didn't try to be like, you know, Paul Simon wasn't trying to be like the Goo Goo Dolls or something. He was just being Paul Simon.
Yeah.
But it's funny too, like so many of the great bands or the great artists of my generation have died.
Yeah.
Certainly the alternative guys, you know, Kurt Cobain and Chris Cornell and Shannon Hoon, people like that. Lane Staley of Alice in Chains. And like it's like those like they're never gonna do that. That whatever that is, that comeback, that later on comeback thing, they're never gonna do that. Nobody's ever gonna sing those songs again, I don't think. I mean, who's gonna care? Who's gonna carry No Rain into the next generation?
Jen, when I saw 2 Chains, he had broken his leg and he was in a wheelchair performing. It was a very odd show.
Hey, if you can chair dance, you can wheelchair rap.
Yeah.
Right, 2 Chains is a rapper, I think.
I love 2 Chains.
I don't really know 2 Chains. Oh, look, it's been 2.5 hours. What are we gonna do now?
I know we gotta go. I gotta go to the bathroom.
I know, right? She's finished her iced latte. She's finished her ice blended.
I finished my iced latte. I must go. There's
your coffee bean and tea leaf. Generation X, the only generation that are 30 years old at both age 15 and 50. Yeah, we'll stay the same.
Yeah.
Which is true.
Totally.
It's true. Although I worry about these kids now. They're growing up too fast, but what are you gonna do?
Same time, same place. We'll see
All
you
right,
guys next week.
See you next week. Bye, everybody.
Thanks for hanging out with us. We
Bye.
appreciate it.
Oh, I have to hear. Okay. I have to end this.
Bye.
All right. There we go. Bye.
I'll end it.
Oh,
Bye.
end stream. End stream.